world is changing.
You've no idea the power I represent.
None of our lives can matter more than this mission.
I don't accept that.
You heard it up top. And you're listening to this podcast because you chose to, you accepted the mission, and we're excited to talk to you about that mission today because we're talking about the one, the only Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 here on Normies Like Us with your hosts, Colin Luther. I just sit in the chair. I don't move anymore.
Colin Luther. I'll be Mike G. Because
Mike G.
I'm in a different kind of chair.
And this is your team captain, Jacob Hunt.
Yeah.
The greatest spy that's ever lived.
Wow.
Uh-huh. James Bond, get out of here. You know, Jack Bauer, get out of here. It's Ethan Hunt. The hunt is back on, and I reckon the Dead Reckoning Part 1, that's what we're talking about. But
hell yeah. Jacob, you're so mature yet sexless now.
Yeah, anytime they pair me with a female actor, it's a little weird, but,
Very gentle.
The second movie, he figured I should probably dial it back.
That's right.
Yeah. Woo, woo, woo. You know it. Speaking of Mission Impossible 2, Mission 2 Impossible. What's our history? We've never talked about Mission Impossible really as a franchise.
Is that true?
On this, we've never done a retrospective. We might have mentioned Fallout. I would have to double
maybe
check.
Maybe in a watch or something.
Yeah.
But,
sure.
Never dedicated. And honestly, and I'll kick it to you guys. I had fallen off the franchise heavily until Fallout, and I really enjoyed Fallout. So I watched Mission Impossible 2, thought it was bad, skipped 3, 4, 5, or whatever, and then Fallout is 6, right? So then I watched Fallout, really liked it, and then I was really ready for this movie. But then after it, based on your recommendation, I enjoyed it. Spoiler, we'll get into it. But I ended up watching every one that I hadn't seen in the last 2 days.
Amazing.
So I've gone back. I'm a little confused because I jumped around. I didn't do it in order, but I did watch all the ones that I missed.
So you watched
3. You're Fast and the Furious jumbled together in your brain.
Yeah, I watched 4, 5, 3, and then I went back and watched 1 and 2 today. So we've been all over, and we haven't rewatched Fallout. But
so you watched all of them.
I've been crazy about it ever since I saw it, I guess. I want to jump up on a couch, about it.
Well, so, Mike, I'm happy to hear that. So hold on, though. Why the lapse, if we can investigate? What do you think made you fall off from the franchise?
I think just 2 being goofy, like too much.
2
was a little mission too much. Yeah.
2 is very interesting.
I like John Woo and stuff, but where's your history at? Where
we get into what I rewatch? Because I did a full rewatch.
My God,
Team Captain
the series. I spent about 2 weeks. I had 2 weeks preparation. I was like, all right, about 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about Dead Reckoning. So I'm going to start rewatching these. I think I convinced you, Mike, to rewatch some of the other ones, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I went back and rewatched them from the beginning, and it is kind of a weird franchise because the first 3 are all very different from each other. Different directors, different kind of creative visions. And then 4 comes along. 4 is kind of similar to 3, but it kind of rejuvenates the whole franchise. And then from 5 on, it's been the same director, Christopher McQuarrie, right? And they've had a more kind of consistent, aesthetic and sort of theming, right?
Right. So 4, correct me if I'm wrong, that's Ghost Protocol. Then we have Rogue Nation, then Fallout, and now Dead Reckoning. This is kind of the new era. Let's say the new Mission Impossible era, phase 2, if it were.
Yeah, and that's when they kind of solidified the lore. Every movie they're kind of adding characters: Benji, Ilsa Faust, Luther from the beginning. And now they're kind of become the Toretto family of Ethan Hunt, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're right. Like, it does feel a lot more cohesive when I went back and watched those. I do like kind of from 4 on. I think that's a really solid. And 1 through 3 have their moments. But, man, from 4 on, it's like a fucking damn good franchise. I'll venture as far as to say before I go to Colin. I mentioned I think Scream is maybe not the best, but the most consistent horror franchise. This is probably the most consistent action franchise. So
it really is. If you think about, if you compare it to something like James Bond, there's been some clunkers in all different eras of James Bond. In Mission Impossible, really 2 I think is the worst one, and it's
but
still
it's not terrible.
It's weird and it has its moments and things to like about it. So Yeah, I still think the first one is a real banger. You know,
Brian De Palma masterpiece.
Yeah,
Dutch
it's a really good paranoid spy thriller.
Yeah, but what do you think? And again, from the TV show, it was already 30 years old when they made the first movie. Now we're 30 years into this franchise. Pretty wild. But Colin, bring us up to speed.
Jesus.
Oh, not to mention Tom Cruise jokes. Speed. Bring us up to speed.
Yeah, I'm running right now real fast, Mike. Yeah. You just even saying the TV show, it's like there's so many angles to literally attack this from. But to jump back to what you said, you know, consistency, blah, blah, blah. If Jacob was like, we're going to do a Jason Bourne podcast, right? I would be like angry and upset. Like Mission Impossible is the normie action franchise. It's the coolest. I'm super upset to hear we've never talked about it before. This would be a great one to do our long form series studies on, right?
I'm not opposed to revisiting it at some point.
I did just rewatch them all, but I'm not opposed to doing it again.
Well, we'll wait till Dead Reckoning 2 is coming out next year, and we can do it all.
We could.
Say,
here's
the thing.
I got to learn to hold my breath for 6 minutes for a year anyway.
Yeah. Here's the thing.
Order to
John
record.
Wick, if you want to compare it to John Wick, that's also a consistent action franchise.
Totally.
But less installments, so less chances to kind of mess it up.
True. There's a contender happening, but I think right now, as it stands, Mission Impossible probably most consistent, especially on the rewatch, because the level of stunts and skills, and you know, I would say, you know, before we jump into Dead Reckoning, I wanted to ask you guys, like, what do you think are the elements to a Mission Impossible movie?
Oh man,
what makes a Mission Impossible movie?
That's such a great question. That's such a great question.
I would say
again, it's very varied. If you
let's throw an element. We'll go around.
Right.
Jacob.
You gotta have missions. You gotta have masks.
Oh, masks, definitely masks.
Hold on, those missions have to be impossible.
They have to be impossible. You have to accept them.
The message has to self-destruct.
The mask is a big part for a couple of movies. They went away from the mask. I'm glad they come back to the mask a little bit in this one, which we will talk about. But that was always a big part of the franchise. The technological gadgets that they use, like the elaborateness of the plots, is usually an element in these, right?
Yeah. Yes. And Colin, do you have a short list? I have a couple things written down too.
I just have the one big addition I want to cherry on top of everything Jacob said, and I'm sure what you're going to add as well, Mike, and just say, to me, of course, the staple of Mission Impossible as a franchise is the weird marketing gimmick that Tom Cruise himself, I guess a human being, a man, I'm told that's what he is.
Yeah.
Will sit in front of a camera for every one of them and say, "Hi, how are you? I'm Tom Cruise. I don't know if you know this, but the new Mission Impossible movie is coming out. I just want to show you what I did this time to make it worth your time to see this film." And the weird publicity of a stunt. Yeah.
Well, he's really leaned into that later in his career of like wanting to do his own stunts, topping himself each movie. And that even started really with the second one where he's free climbing at the beginning.
Right.
And there's stories of like John Woo being like freaking out because he wasn't using like proper safety ropes and stuff. So it was just Tom Cruise literally just free climbing. And they're like, you can't do that. Like that's... I mean,
when you watch The Outsiders, one of his early roles, he just straight up backflips off a car. And I can't help but think that's an improv. He's just like, I could do that.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, Mike, about just him as a man and him as a background and stuff. Those types of films, Outsiders. What's the one where he slides up, where he's
Jerry
like
Maguire,
the
Risky
naked
Business.
guy? Jerry Maguire,
Risky
Business is of course the one. Yes, Labyrinth. What was this guy?
Oh, you mean
we get into this movie? Was he?
Legend?
Have you seen all these things? Or
great Ridley Scott movie. Legend.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I did mean Legend. Thank you so much for correcting me. Yes.
Jennifer Connelly and Tom Cruise, I get confused.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Who was in Alita? Yeah.
Hey, they date in Maverick. So
you know what? Fair.
Totally fair.
But the crazy stunts, wanting up himself, and then I think another big theme of the Mission Impossible movies is the double crosses and twists,
right?
Yeah,
which usually, a lot of times also go hand in hand with the mask, where someone is not who you think they are. They pull their face off, and they're somebody else.
Yeah, a big reveal, a big whoa, double, triple crosses.
Or like in Fallout, there's the rare quadruple cross, right?
I thought Fallout, but we'll get to Dead Reckoning soon enough. But we should get some of this out of the way. That was like. When I first saw that, I'm like, this is the most crazy double, triple cross spy shit. Like, I thought it was kind of ridiculous, but I was like, that's incredible that they did it. I have a short list of other elements I think that are required. Ethan Hunt must ride a motorcycle.
Yes.
He must run very
really
fast.
Yes.
He must
Oh, I
also,
love
it
it,
seems, run on a cool roof. He loves to run on a cool
sure.
roof.
Sure, yeah.
And then
Loves to
obviously an
jump.
over-the-top physical, active stunt work. And then jokes
Climbing,
aside,
skydiving.
anything, it's so spectacle, right? But the thing that really makes them work, I think, is tension. They're very effective at escalating the stakes in all their action set pieces. Like, think of it like, remember Die Hard when he jumps off the roof with the fire hose? And then he has to swing into the window, and then he's safe, but then it falls off, and now it's pulling him out the window, and it's always some new wrench getting thrown into the plan. That's how every one of the great set pieces in this franchise is structured, and it's really cool. It's like a masterclass in how you build tension in an action sequence. So
wow,
I would say
well done.
definitely. And to give you one example, look at Ghost Protocol, the famous Dubai Burj Khalifa climbing scene when he's got the rope and he's like has to swing, and Jeremy Renner's like, "I think your rope's too short." He's like, "No shit!" Like that's
no
the
shit.
Ethan Hunt
and
moment.
it's like, I'm up there, and then I lose a glove, and then there's a sandstorm, and then there's always something getting worse, and I think it's really, really good at doing that.
They always have an elaborate plan. Something always goes wrong. They have to improvise, and that just adds to the tension because the plan always goes wrong, and they have to make something up on the spot too.
Yeah, and I think from Ghost Protocol on, like, that got really strong. They always had good, like, even the first wire scene with the bead of sweat, like they've always had that ability to build tension. So, and a lot of action films aren't good at that. They'll just throw, like, Fast and the Furious, I never felt tension building. It's just shit happening. But everything here, car chases get more, things are evolving. So we'll get into it. But that's my broad thoughts on rewatching these. And I'm, like, so in on the franchise. And thanks for kind of pointing out my blind spot.
I've been, the last 2 weeks just watching these movies, like, getting into this franchise, getting ready for Dead Reckoning. So I'm glad I was being, like, nagging you to, like, watch some of these movies. Like, you gotta check out Rogue Nation before this episode. Like, you're gonna appreciate it so much more. But I'm in the Mission Impossible zone. I do want to tell one quick story about this franchise that I don't know if I mentioned on the podcast before, but the first Mission Impossible movie, I believe 1996 it came out, was my first movie memory of seeing a movie in the movie theater.
Tom Cruise would be so proud.
Yeah, I went to the theater, saw Mission Impossible 1. I was 6 years old. My family, we went and visited my great aunt Jeanette, who lived in Xenia, Ohio. I lived in Northeast Ohio, so it's a little bit of a drive down south.
Oh my God, yeah.
She lived on this old farmhouse that had I just remember it had a mile-long driveway, and it was on this old farm property. But we went and visited her, didn't see her very often, but we went and saw Mission Impossible as something to do for the whole family.
Wow.
And for whatever reason, that just stuck in my memory as a little 6-year-old, watching Tom Cruise, go down on that rope in the building. And I remember the train sequence at the end. It just really sticks out for me in my mind. So, this franchise and me, we go way back.
Wow. I saw it at a drive-in. So there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You did?
Yep. Mission Impossible 1. I saw the drive-in. Fair enough.
This was definitely my dad vetting it and being like, yeah, we'll watch it.
Right.
I remember
don't know
the TV
why
show.
my family chose this, or my parents never gave any indication that they were, into Mission Impossible or Tom Cruise or anything. They're just like, let's go check out this movie. It's in theaters. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, in contrast to Indiana Jones, I think we have two similar things, and I'm looking forward to diving into this movie with you. But I think one thing that there's a lot of CG, and then this franchise that does a lot of things practical. It's like day and night, I think, in quality of experience. So I think now is probably a good time to jump into it. We can ask you guys how you saw it when we get on the other side of this, and we'll dive into the latest installment of the finale, potentially, of the entire series, Dead Reckoning, Part 1. Should you choose to accept right after this.
We're back. You're on Normies Like Us. Bump, 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 bump. We have accepted the mission.
Should you choose?
Getting struck.
The mission.
That's right.
We accepted the mission. We're talking this great franchise. As always, we're going to talk all of it. We're going to talk history. We're going to talk this one. We're going to talk how it got made. We're talking Dead Reckoning Part 1 today. But as always, spoilers. Want to hit that early with y'all. Be cool. We always talk about the whole thing.
Probably all the
spoilers.
movies, just in case.
Yes.
Yeah, and there's a lot of twists and turns in these, so...
Yes, a lot to spoil.
Yeah, so you're going to be spoiled because we love you like that. I do want to, first of all, mention production of this was kind of up and down. I remember there was like COVID paused it for a long time. Then it's like it's filmed internationally, so there's a lot of issues with that.
This was shot in 2020, I believe, or 2021.
This is a COVID movie. We're still getting COVID movies. That's
It was supposed to come out 21, 22. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was actually watching and reading some behind the scenes stuff about the making, and there was a lot of COVID precautions and stuff. And even like Angela Bassett was going to be in this movie. If you remember, she was the CIA head.
We get a great picture of her.
Yeah.
Yep.
But she couldn't because of COVID travel restrictions. She couldn't. They couldn't make it work with her schedule and stuff, I guess. So.
Right. And some of that might have affected certain story elements. Overall, I think we're fine. But there was like there was an audio recording of Tom Cruise flipping out on crew members. If it happens again,
he was flipping out for them not wearing.
That's how
masks,
long ago
it was.
it was.
A good thing to kind of flip out about and be like, hey, you got to wear masks on sets.
And because he's saying, like, think about the people who are losing their fucking homes or something like that. It's like, we're losing jobs because you guys don't follow the rules. So he's really fired up about the industry. Yeah.
Can I say real quick, these moments now are called Christian Bale moments, where literally Hugh Grant will say like, I had a Christian Bale moment on Dungeons and Dragons and I yelled at someone. I'm so
what a
sorry.
legacy.
And he'll be like, real flippant and silly. Yes. What a legacy. I got to say, both these cases, Tom Cruise and Christian Bale, I'm on the side of the guy screaming. So yeah, fuck all y'all.
And do you remember who Christian Bale was yelling at?
He was yelling at the guy for moving a light. DP. It was McCheese DP. He was walking around moving a light during the scene, and he was like, "What are you doing? Stop! You're not supposed to do that."
But
hold the work.
Tom Cruise loves the movies. He saved the movies, and he's not going to let COVID kill him.
No, he gritted it out, and he made this thing happen. And boy, did it happen! So good job for the entire cast and crew for keeping it rolling and keeping it safe. But how did you guys see it? What was the circumstance?
Well, we went to our normal theater, our Cinemark, and caught a little Sunday matinee, and it was a nice, enjoyable little movie-going experience. I think.
Pretty packed, Mike. Pretty receptive crowd. The moment we'll talk about, the big stunt of this film was completely silent until one guy in the back just said like, "Holy shit!" And then you could hear like some people like chuckling to it or whatever. So love that energy.
A lot of chuckles throughout. Right.
No cool popcorn bucket as they typically do at our Cinemark that we go to or whatever. I guess maybe take that out if we dox ourselves, but maybe not. I don't care. Yeah. But Mike, they have one for the Ninja Turtles movie coming up where I was eyeing it and talking to Jacob where I was like, I'm definitely getting that bucket. Yeah, that looks fucking awesome, dude.
I got my D&D one.
To tell you that.
Yeah,
after I was tried to sue Hugh Grant for yelling at me, they gave me it for free. Right. So I have my D&D one. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say there's a lot of chuckles throughout from the audience that we're with, and it seems like a lot of dad energy in the audience. Just a lot of dads going, Tom Cruise.
Hey, all right, yeah. Hey, okay, yeah.
Maverick.
A lot of that.
Yeah, okay.
Oh shit, that's right.
You did very Albert actions. But how about you, Mike?
I went to the Alamo doxing. I got the Alamo pass, so it cost me $1. Cost me $1 now to go see a movie for the next month and a half. So I'll be watching Turtles there, getting pizza. But yeah, I watched it there. I had the Impossible Burger. That wasn't on the menu. I just wish it was. They could have.
Impossible. Well, there'd be the Impossible meat, right?
Yes, that's what they should have done. Hire me. But yeah, it was a packed house. Like I could barely get any seats. Like for the matinee on Saturday. Like I wanted to go early, so I wanted to.
Right.
But yeah, full house. People again, dead silent during the big stunt. A lot of positive reactions. Like people were loving it.
Oh yeah.
So it was great and well worth it. And I didn't have a whiskey or nothing. I just watched it with a soda. I had to get through Indiana Jones. It was a little tougher, but this was just a treat.
Well, it's also 3 hours, Mike, so you do not want to get up and piss.
No, you don't want to do that either.
I had to plan my strategic bathroom break, as I always do. I get my large soda. Colin knows. I always have to hydrate.
At what point of the plot is the bathroom break optimal then? If we're looking at...
This time I was, when they were talking about, they were planning something, I was like, all right, they're going to be probably planning for the next minute to a minute.
You know
and a
what
half.
you know what he missed? I told him later, Mike, that Jacob got up when it kind of confirmed, I believe, in my opinion, a little romance between Ethan Hunt and Ilsa Faust in this film, where we got some sort of tender confirmations, a hug and then a handhold.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think I know where we're at. Chilling on a roof.
Yeah.
Cool,
So I missed
cool.
that.
Never
Okay.
been to Venice.
Look,
Right,
we'll talk
right.
Neither
about.
have I.
Hey,
Ilsa
could I
Faust.
ask real quick, what's up with everybody going to Italy?
This
Good place to go.
Well, I want us to talk about this at the end because
we can wait.
You're saying it because of a certain film we all watched recently, and I maybe think this film shares too much in common with that movie. Mike.
I'm thinking of three
There's a car
movies.
chase in Rome.
Okay.
And there's a train sequence where they're on top of a train and have the duck in a tunnel. So if that sounds like also two other movies that came out
Every
this summer.
film we've ever seen.
Yeah, and there's definitely another car chase in Rome if you like Rocket League. Anyway, let's save all that. Let's reckon.
right.
Let's reckon we talk about this thing. We're gonna
I
wreck
love
the
it.
movie
Let's
for you
reckon
if you
this
don't like
deadness.
spoilers. Yeah, I reckon. I loved it.
Yes,
But-
first reactions. Hit us, dude.
It was a spectacle again. We'll save the full thing for the end, but after Indiana Jones, I'm like, there are similarities to these two things, kind of plot-wise, but man, this thing just puts its, pedal to the metal. It's paced really well. It's a little long, just, whatever, but man, the set pieces, you feel grounded. You feel there. You feel the stakes and the tension because it's like, yep, that's Tom Cruise on top of that train. Like, it's really happening to the degree that it would be safe to film, but like, whatever can be real is, and it really adds to the tension and the immersion. And I was like, damn, this is an adventure. This is a movie. This is escapism. Like, I felt transported,
That's right.
which is rare for people like us who kind of know how the sausage is made. I was like, you done did it, you maniac. So that's where I was at. Very impressed.
Yeah.
I
think
dude.
for me, general reaction, I did like it. I think as it stands, I think it's the weakest of the McQuarrie directed ones. So from Rogue Nation and Fallout, having just seen all of them back to back to back, I think this one was my least favorite of the three, but that's not to say it's bad at all. I would actually rank it fifth. I would put Ghost Protocol and the first one also ahead of it. But that's not, again, I like this movie. I do have some problems with it, which I'll get into. Some minor nitpicks, you could say. But overall, really enjoyed it. It was a great time at the movies. And I'm excited to talk about it.
And Colin, how about you? First blush?
I feel super positive on it in this exact moment after learning that it was a COVID film, because I actually think what they accomplished maybe raises it up a gold star of what I actually had it at prior.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
But I certainly agree with Mike that it was too long.
Yeah.
I
It's a
think
trend.
all movies are now. But again, it's like, how far do you want to lean? Here's what I've been telling people. And why I investigated why Mike dropped off of this franchise so adamantly is that, of course, when you talk about these films, people are like, but what about the Tom Cruise of it all? And here's my thing about the Tom Cruise of it all, because maybe that is what would turn somebody off from watching this franchise. I can push out the intrusive thoughts of all these questions I should and need to have to this man and about this man if what I'm seeing is like the most incredible thing I've ever seen on the screen. And this film left me having some intrusive thoughts.
Okay.
It's just not the best. It just did not blow me away as much as I hope it would be, or that I've come to be accustomed to this film franchise, that every time I go, that's the one.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I guess
Okay.
I think I kind of felt similar. Just having seen Rogue Nation and Fallout directly beforehand, I thought this was didn't quite reach the levels that those other movies reached for me, but it did have. There's a lot to like about it, and I think with the Tom Cruise of it all, is he like a weirdo? Yeah, but there's a lot of weirdos in Hollywood.
Yeah.
So if you're picking and choosing, is he a worse person than Ezra Miller? I would say probably not.
It's just he might know where a missing woman is, Jacob, and that is something that deserves to be asked directly to him, I guess.
Definitely
If
the
I wanted to
Scientology.
distract people, I would jump out of a plane in the movies and say, don't think about it. Look at this.
Right, but again, if you're seeing, if you're going to see The Flash with Ezra Miller, you're seeing
Yeah.
plenty of movies with actors in it that have done bad things or questionable things. I don't know. It's hard to pick and choose and say like.
Well, we look at the strikes too.
There's
There's bad things happening in the supply chain of all mass entertainment. Unfortunately,
I did want to say this too about, so obviously there's an actor's strike now in addition to the writer's strike. This is the first podcast that we're doing since the actor's strike, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we do want to say, of course, these movies wouldn't even exist without the talented writers and actors that make them and labor to make them, right? So solidarity with them, and
absolutely.
Pay these people. We don't need studio executives to make movies. Like if there were no studio executives, movies would still get made. If there's no writers or actors, there wouldn't be movies.
No. And when we have record profits or record salaries for the executives, and you say you can't pay anybody, bullshit. So solidarity for the writers, the actors, and maybe UPS. We'll see. Whatever. Like get your bag. Get your bag.
It seems like
yes. It's time.
General strike. Call a general strike. We're here.
Well, putting it in the public view, not to stay here, but it's like because it's actors and like even famous people being like, we're all getting screwed. It draws attention to yes, we're all getting screwed. So maybe this, if it goes well, it can create solidarity. So let's stand with them and hope. Because it could create a ripple effect, let's say, in many other industries, and we can get a lot of people taken care of. That's what we hope for.
Yeah, so we're hoping for the best outcome, which is
it might be an impossible mission, but I'm choosing to undertake it, and so are they. So way to go.
The last thing I want to say about the TC of it all, and then I want your opinion on it too, Mike, is the QAnon theories that there are like lizard people who like control the world. Tom Cruise is the only person who maybe thinks that maybe there are aliens on this planet because he acts so strangely if you just like literally observe him. But I like that. And I do think he is, again, I don't want to sound like I'm like supporting him in some huge way, but I just think he is singularly unique in his love of films, where if you asked him, and people have, about his favorite films and favorite movies, if you look at his answers, he almost consistently talks about films from a producer angle where he'll be like, and that studio made that, and this person produced it, opposed to the writer or the directors or the stars. And I think he really does just come at movies from the angle of, how can I make something that will blow people's minds? And that's pretty unique. There's not a lot of people in film that think from that angle, in my opinion.
No.
Yeah, and talking about cinema as spectacle, he's not half-assing it. He's not going to put out a half-assed product when it comes to a movie with Tom Cruise in it. No. You're expecting a certain level of like, this is going to wow you, even with Top Gun Maverick, any of the recent movies. Like I think he's picked his projects over the last decade or so pretty well, excusing a couple outliers,
Jack Reacher,
like The Mummy.
Hey, come on.
Jack Reacher.
It's just like I just don't understand why that exists when Mission Impossible also exists. It seems like a derivative Mission Impossible.
The first Jack Reacher, and you could say maybe it was an audition for this because Christopher McQuarrie was the director of Jack Reacher. So
that's why it was a show reel to get him on.
That's an unofficial Ethan Hunt film. You should throw that on your watch list, boys.
Fair enough. I haven't watched it. I was judging it.
That's prejudice.
But yeah, you're right. I should not be. I should watch the old Jack Reacher.
But really, The Mummy is probably the biggest outlier in terms of.
But how do you excuse him, Mike? How do you just say like,
Look, Jacob was saying spectacle of film, right?
Yeah.
And he has dedicated his life. He's like 60 or something now. He hasn't lost a step. Harrison Ford looks like he has. He's older too, but like he's still going crazy, and like he dedicated his whole life to making spectacle for the audience. Maybe he's just saying that and he just likes to make money, but I don't know. I'm not doing 500 skydives and jumping a motorcycle off a cliff 6 times in one day unless I'm really dedicated to the craft. Like he's like Buster Keaton level. Get me in front of this train. I don't give a fuck, right?
He seems to want to die doing it. So
yeah.
I respect that. Yeah, that
Jackie
drive.
Chan, he's the American Jackie Chan, right?
Yeah. He's gonna
great.
Do the most dangerous shit. Yeah, and
I love it
for real.
I think with the Scientology of it all, I'll just say maybe there's something to it because that man, he's not aging. He can do these stunts. Yep. I mean, the more likely
Fly a jet.
explanation is that he's rich and he can afford, lots of good.
Or that he has
healthcare
gone
and that kind of
clear, and that his thetans
Yes.
are, invisible,
He's purged
essentially.
the thetans from his
He
body.
might be invincible, and he just pretends like he's not. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Hold
for
your
like
breath
a
for 6
60
minutes. I don't know.
Yeah, for a 61-year-old man or 62, however old he is, like he's looking insanely good. And I think I said this about Top Gun Maverick too, but like no 60-year-old man should be looking like Tom Cruise.
No.
Although he could, his hair, I'm sure he dyes it. Like he could allow a little bit of gray.
I am certain, Jacob, that
Yeah.
there is a portrait of Dorian Cruz that exists in some sort of, attic somewhere that has aged and been scarred and is mostly
sure.
dead.
Yeah, very
believe it.
likely. But by whatever means he has come to attain these powers, he definitely puts them in full display anytime he steps into the role of Ethan Hunt. And, that's kind of what we're out here talking about. He's doing it again. At least one more time after this. But, yeah, Dead Reckoning. I mean, where do we begin? Full spoilers from here on out. I think we recommend it, right? Do we recommend people see it?
Yes.
Before we go
Thumbs
crazy
up,
on spoilers?
100%.
I
There's not
recommend-
one of these films I don't think you should watch. Even 2
No.
is so
Yeah.
crazy that I'm like, watch 2. It's so crazy.
I recommend the full rewatch. I had a blast watching them, and they're all on Paramount Plus. It's like pretty much the only reason to get Paramount Plus is Star Trek and Mission Impossible. And Jack Reacher's on there too. So there you go.
I love
And Top
that.
Gun
I'll
Maverick, bunch of
throw
Tom
it out
Cruise
to
movies.
my beautiful free, I believe they call them FAST, free advertising streaming television services, Pluto TV,
Nice.
that has just the Mission Impossible channel right now. You can just watch them live. They're just fucking
Wow.
running, dude. They're just going in the background.
Nice. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so check it out. And actually, I just need this movie to do really good to keep Star Trek around. So go see it so I can have Star Trek. And thank you in advance.
Yeah,
Go to the theaters.
absolutely.
But geez, I've watched so many Mission Impossibles. I'm having trouble remembering how this one opens. Where do we begin?
Well,
What's
Mike,
the
this
submarine
one
hunt
has
for Red
a
October.
weird way.
Yeah.
I was
Yes.
gonna say this one.
Ethan Hunt for Red
introduces
October.
us.
Oh, great.
Dude, the Ethan Hunt for Red October. I just want everyone to hear that clear and
Yes.
cleanly. That is great, Jacob.
Oh, I love
This one opens, Mike. It might be a little memorable to you because it does introduce something that will become known as the Entity, a AI that is going to be the villain of this film, an
How
AI that has
topical.
inhabited a submarine. Yes, how topical.
Actually, yeah, because I didn't even know really that AI was going to be like a thing going into this movie.
No.
The fact that this whole movie is about Ethan Hunt Tom Cruise wanting to stop AI from taking over the world or Hollywood. I mean, you can't get much more topical than that right now. So that's pretty crazy.
Absolutely not. Writer's strike going on. AI,
Yeah.
all these kind of
I
stuff.
will stop this strike. I'm the only one who can do it.
I will
the only
kill
one.
your god.
And I am the only one with the clear enough vision.
God.
These world governments don't get it. No one gets it but me, and I'm taking it in my own hands. It's so Ethan
right.
Hunt. Yeah.
A Scientologist in this film out loud says, "I will kill your god, Jacob."
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's incredible. He has shades of Jack Bauer for sure. Of like, I know I'm right. Shut the fuck up.
Yes.
I'm always
Yes.
right.
Well,
Yeah.
At one point in this movie, someone says like, "So you're telling me Ethan Hunt every time he goes rogue, it turns out he was actually saving the world? Don't you think maybe we should just like give him the benefit of the doubt?"
Why
And
would
then-
this be any different? And then he
And then
gets
Shea Wiggum is
judged.
just like, "No, absolutely
Hey,
not."
quiet. How dare you ask that?
That is a function of these movies, though. We have to have someone saying, "Hey, is this moral?" And then like, shh, or whatever. Like we have to
Sit
ask
down.
the question so we can say that we've asked it, and then okay, we're letting
Yeah.
Ethan go. But yeah, Hunt for Red October. They think there's like an attack on them. It turns out they were infected. They changed the battery or something in their submarine that
It's
had
a
the
Russian
AI.
sub.
It's a
in it.
magic
It opens on a
invisible
Russian
Russian
sub.
sub. Yes.
Yeah.
And I believe, just to throw this out because it's a huge question I need clarified. In this text that's going through, it says something about Dead Reckoning. What does Dead Reckoning mean? It says the words Dead Reckoning, or the Russian guy says it out loud.
I think that's was it the code name of like the sub that they were talking, like it was the name of the sub, so they didn't have to. I know it had like a Russian name that they said at the end.
Spetopoulos.
Yeah.
Does that like translate to Dead Reckoning? That could be
Could
true.
be.
I don't know. I could not
I don't-
remember. Or
Yeah, I
grab
reckon
that.
I don't know. But
I mean, these titles, sometimes it's hard to figure out what they mean. Ghost Protocol.
Fallout.
That one made
Fallout's
sense.
about a nuke.
Fallout. Well, I found out rewatching.
No, it's because he
Fallout
fell
that
out of
they
the
do
plane.
Say, the
That's right.
fallout of Ethan going rogue or something. I don't know.
But they all, you said. There's no difference.
I'm not
Rogue
worried
Nation,
about it.
The one where he's like, look, it's a nation of me going rogue. Like, relax.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, the Rogue Nation was the Syndicate, right?
Yes. I don't want to hear it.
Different from
Maybe the
Entity,
Syndicate
of
was the
course.
Rogue Nation
Yes.
all along.
The Apostles.
The Apostles.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
The Entity.
Gabriel.
I like all of these. I gotta say.
I like the Entity. All right, so again, this plot.
I like
this
the
is,
Entity. Thank you.
This is
Mike.
the plot from Eagle Eye, okay?
Yes.
But
Oh,
now
wow,
it is
okay.
not cheesy. But
It's
the
becoming
submarine.
more and more realistic, which is the scary thing. Is that this is plausible that this could happen in real life.
I was kind of stoked for it, honestly. I'm like, okay, this fits, actually. It's like the new existential threat. It's not nuclear war. Sorry, Oppenheimer. I mean, that always will be. But it's like AI is what everyone's thinking about now. And weirdly topical to be filming this in 2019. They couldn't have predicted. Maybe Tom Cruise can because he's from the future or whatever. But submarine thinks they're being attacked by another sub. They're like, oh, crap. Turns out, nothing on the scope. Very mysterious in their
ghost in
own
the system.
torpedo. They can't shut it down. Something's taken over the sub, taken out by their own torpedo. What the hell's going on?
There's a
That's kinda
key involved, a cruciform
two-part key that's heavily...
Cruciform key.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, a
So-
lot of Catholic imagery in this movie, as Colin mentioned as we were
jeez,
walking
I didn't even
out,
think about
which
that.
we'll get into. Yeah,
But there's
lot
a
of
key that's
religious
two
overtones.
parts. We're going to need to get both parts of the key, keep them out of the hands of the bad guy. That's the point of this movie. Sound familiar? Two parts of a thing, keep them away. But
that's a lot of movies this year, right?
Yep.
Transformers.
That's just
Indiana
movies
Jones.
now.
Every MacGuffin has two parts now, where you have to find the second part. You have the first
Star
part, you
Wars
gotta find
sort
the
of
second
had
part.
MacGuffin A and then B as a prototype.
Can I
of
just
that.
say real quick, if I have this fucking smartphone and I cut this thing down the middle in half and I left this to my ancestors 100 years like in the future, they can't just put it together and it will never work again. If you cut that fucking dial of destiny in half, you just be like, you broke the dial. Why did you do that?
Archimedes would know how to put it back together.
So the key is the smartest one out of all of them. They just
I
slide
don't
together.
know.
That's the only
Even
way you can
that,
validate it.
they verify each other. They're married. They're yes. Adam and Eve. Look, all this, guys. It's incredible. I love all of it.
But yeah, we're looking for the keys. That's the thing. We have a lead on one key, I guess, and this is where we first meet Ethan. I'm trying to.
They
Someone
both
else gotta
have
drive.
the keys. The Russian sub explodes. They float to the top. We get some ominous push-in camera work on those keys. Going, my God, what's going to happen to those things? We've seen a blue Siri sort of like talking and being not. It never talks. It never does anything. But sort of like wave.
visual
It's like an
representation
iris
of
almost.
the entity.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
we'll
I've
later
seen
be
eye.
inside this thing. That is why I want to
Yes.
point this out, which is
Yes,
very
yes.
cool.
But Ethan Hunt gets a mission basically telling him that his old friend, British intelligence agent Ilsa Faust,
Yes.
the woman of my dreams,
Yes. Oh, okay. Thank you.
has come into contact or has acquired half of the key, right? And now there's people coming after her because they want the key.
Yes.
I think that's how it started, if I remember.
Well,
Yeah.
let's say real quick that we get the will you choose to accept it moment, which is Ethan Hunt not even seen. It's a dark, smoky room. A young
Yeah.
tattooed
new
ruffian
recruit.
sort
Yeah.
of just walks in with a DoorDash bag of some sort of made up kind or whatever. And he's very, like lovingly worked through what is the traditional protocol that they need to be doing for IMF agents to accept their mission and get the little thing that tells you the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's never seen again. But I really wanted to point this out because, of course, this is a film about the practices of getting recruited into the Impossible Mission Force. And this is very
Oh.
important to show that it occurs. It happens. There are all these sort of like spoons in the bowl or whatever you say, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like this movie's actually doing a lot to expand the known lore of the IMF, sort of. Even with the return of our favorite character, Kittredge, right? Everyone's
Eugene
favorite character.
Kittredge?
From the first movie.
From the first movie, who never came back in any of the other movies until now. So they're really showing, like, how would someone join with the Haley Atwell character, which we'll get into as well. How would someone become a new recruit into IMF. So I think that's very interesting.
We see the results
Yeah.
of it, but we also just see, again, emphasizing the lovingness. He will say this later, but when you are a part of this machine, it means you have a guardian angel named Ethan Hunt who loves you so much more than he will ever love himself. He will take care of you for the rest of your life. If you're a young scumbum kid, an older black man, a young British guy, the hottest German who has ever existed.
Right.
Yeah, and he never wants anyone in his team to die. Fallout was about that. Like, I won't let anybody die on my team, right? So, like, yeah, he's your guardian
think about
angel.
His whole origin story, right? If you go back to the first movie again, the movie starts with his entire team dying and him being the only survivor. And so that's kind of a running theme.
We get this lure set up, Jacob, in this one about how, like, a lot of these people have been in the same situation, disavowed, you know, on the run, prisoners. We sort of get some insight about Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt that we'll talk about in a bit, I'm sure. But I love that you just brought up the Mission Impossible one of it all, because that second team that he puts together, Luther meeting him where he is, excommunicado, Jean Reno, who again are all these agents who have been disavowed. It is the world that they have so perfectly set up this entire franchise. Yeah. But that they're building up so much more now. It's great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
And the idea
working
of,
with MI6 and the Syndicate.
Rogue. Yeah.
Yeah, building this whole thing out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Ilsa Faust has half of the key. She's gone into hiding because there's a hit out on her. You know, other people are trying to acquire this. This key is worth a lot, right? They're building up these MacGuffins because the keys, well, they don't even know what it unlocks, but whatever it unlocks is probably going to be very powerful and very dangerous in the wrong hands, right?
So we want to almost get the key and then let the drops happen and follow the buyers to figure out what they're going to open. It's kind of the general premise, but we get an action
know what
scene.
It opens, but they just don't want the entity to have it because this AI, it's a sentient AI that is becoming so powerful that it's taking over the world, and government agencies, intelligence agencies cannot stop it because their systems are all compromised. They're all digital. They have to go analog at one point and have an air-gapped room, right?
Yeah. There's also the conversation of all these, there's rivaling nation states. There's factions, as always, that want to get the key to try to control the AI because it's so powerful. Like, if we have the key to it, we can shape human history from here on out, you know? So there's people who want to control the AI. Ethan wants to kill your god. And then there's Gabriel, who we'll get into. He's our villain, kind of working on behalf of the AI. He's kind of working in, to use a cyberpunk term, working in the meat space for the AI, helping it do things that it can't do. But we get a cool action scene in the desert. I love the sandstorm. I love the gunplay, no music. There's some really, really cool shit. But also, John Wick did a desert horse thing.
That's true.
And here's what I think it's all coming down to. I agree with that. They did a red carpet interview where, of course, Christopher McQuarrie is talking about all the influences. He talks about Lawrence of Arabia. You can see it so much here. The covered shawls, the horses, the gunfire. Mike, that's so what John Wick was going for as well, with that, vast sprawling. They go so much bigger with the scope of it. But the dust storm here, how it's executed, how cool they make Rebecca Ferguson look. I'm with you. This is superior.
And let me just say, Jacob, you pointed out the opera scene, right? Mm-hmm. Is that Rogue Nation?
In Rogue Nation, yes.
And there's a very striking silhouette of the sniper rifle, right?
Yes.
And then we get another, here she is with a sniper rifle looking fucking awesome.
With the eye patch.
Chef's kiss. Yeah.
I love it.
Desert gear. Yep.
I love Rebecca Ferguson. I love her in Mission Impossible. Love her in Dune. She played Lady Jessica.
Yep.
And just a great actress, and I love her character, Ilsa Faust. I thought she was one of the best additions of the 100%.
This was my introduction to her because I hadn't seen the other ones.
Right. Well, she was in Fallout.
Oh wait, yeah, she was in Fallout. Yeah, but
it's kind of smaller.
I didn't have an established
history. If you didn't see Rogue
history.
Nation, you wouldn't understand why what she's even doing. But
no.
Have you guys seen Dr. Sleep?
Yes, Dr. Sleep. She plays the villain.
Rose the
Hat. Sequel to The Shining, starring your favorite actor, Mike, Ewan McGregor.
He's married to my favorite actress.
Right.
Billy, what's his name?
I don't like that, Mike.
Sorry.
Billy. Yeah, it is.
Jack
Isn't it?
Nicholson's son, grown up
Yeah.
from the first Shining, obviously.
Yeah.
And she plays the villain in that. She's very good. Yeah.
Dog, that's just one of my favorites. So I just had to shout her out. She's
and
incredible.
she is fantastic in this. Yeah, it's all the way through.
She's
So
just
she's a
amazing.
badass.
I will say, so wearing the eye patch in that scene, looking super badass. But also, there's a funny story with that where, again, I was watching some behind the scenes stuff, interviews. So apparently, the whole reason for that eye patch was that when they were shooting that scene, they're like, okay, Christopher McQuarrie, the director, was like, all right, so now I need you to close one of your eyes and you're looking in the sniper. And she's like, okay. And she realized she doesn't know how to wink. She can't like just close one of her eyes. So she's like,
Wow.
I'm trying. She's like, so he's like, okay, now close one eye. She's like, and she couldn't do it. So they're like, all right, we'll give you an eye patch. But
Okay.
it worked
We do
out
not
because
wink
she
in
looks super
Germany.
cool. Yeah.
I'm realizing how broken people's bodies are after that Zachary Quinto story you guys told me. I think human beings are like, we're just not
everyone
all
can
put
do
together.
everything that everyone
Yeah,
else can
I
do,
don't-
right?
Well,
Yeah,
'cause
it's
Tom
a
Cruise
bummer,
is too busy
isn't it?
doing all of it.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But very cool action scene, and then we kind of, you're dead. There's a whole thing. It's like you're dead, and we're gonna act like you got KIA. They put a plant
They
there.
fake her death. Yeah.
Yep,
Yes, they do.
Plant a body.
It's a super cool kill scene. We jump away from this. We kind of go back to our source of information. It's that voice we heard on the tape recording. It is Eugene Kittredge, Henry Czerny
Wow.
from the first film. Like Jacob said, big returning role. He's the CIA director. But it's a moment where we're seeing a man enter a building through massive security, breaches and all these stops and stuff. And he gets to a room full of actors who we're not even going to be able to point them all out, who play
I can,
the council. If you do have the list, please do. The council, which Jacob explained to me because I was like, that name is so weird. He was like, well, it's all the heads of security. It's the security council. And I was
they're
like,
credited as the community. So it's the intelligence
The
community.
community,
It's the head
yes,
of the
that's what
CIA.
it is.
The high table. Yeah.
Pretty
all
much,
the different
yeah.
American intelligence agencies. And then, of course, Carrie Ewells is like the head of the National Intelligence, or the director of National Intelligence.
NSA?
Right?
Or
Yeah.
yes, okay.
But I know all those actors in that room are like character actors that have been in a bunch of stuff. I know like the woman Indira Varma, she was in Game of Thrones. I know her from that.
Obi-Wan.
Was she in Obi-Wan as well?
Yep. She was Tila
Okay.
or whatever. Yeah.
The
She
love
played,
interest.
remember Pedro Pascal's lover in Game of Thrones.
Right. Yep.
That's right. Yep.
And some of those other like the older
Rob
black
Delaney.
man he was in
Sure.
Top Gun. He was like the general or whatever. So another Tom Cruise friend probably coming on.
He played that dirty Mandalorian in the latest season who was with those pirates that were like, is that Bo-Katan's voice I hear?
Yeah, when they visit the Mandalorian.
We've just been out in the desert for 200 years. Yeah.
Yeah, just cruising around on our dumb boat.
Yeah, Fury
So
Lorian.
so they're having this, committee meeting, right? And they're talking about the IMF. They're talking about Ethan Hunt. And this was a funny scene that I enjoyed, but I also thought it was weird that Carrie Ewells would not know the IMF because it is secret, but I feel like the head of national intelligence would know what it is because like 2 movies ago, wasn't Alec Baldwin talking about the IMF like in front of a committee?
Right.
So like people.
And
in
hasn't he
government know
constantly
it.
been doing trials with Hawkeye? Like, hey, dude, did you tell Ethan Hunt? Like, he's on public like trials, at least with high government officials talking
seems
about
Because
it.
Carrie Ewells doesn't know what it is.
Yeah.
Like, so let me get this straight. You just leave word.
You leave word to a man who can choose whether or not to save the world.
I love
Carrie
all
Ellis
that.
Is doing a very strange American accent. It's it's great.
But it's a fun scene. And as this is all happening, this guy that we've been following inside, who has a briefcase, right? He's walking past security and everything. He comes in. He's late to the meeting or whatever. As they're
Kind of
talking,
looking nervous the whole time. He kind of looks like an idiot. He's kind of bumbling.
yeah.
They cut to a close up after key information is given to that guy, and you're like, "Ooh, what's he gonna do? What's his role to play here? Is he a spy?"
I fell for all this. I want everybody to know. I did not
Me
see
too.
this coming
I
at all.
thought he was going to be a bad guy and was going to do some kind of assassination mission. But they're talking about Ethan Hunt and everything. And then as they're talking, like they're wrapping up or whatever, he hands Kittredge a gas mask, right? And then Kittredge is like, what the hell is this? He puts it on. He throws some smoke bombs, right? Knocks everyone out in the room except for him and Kittredge. Rips off the mask. Guess who? It's our boy Ethan Hunt.
Classic. Oh, you know, yeah, it's like you get the mask one, and it's just like the scene builds the way like a Mission Impossible 1 scene where it's a lot of talking and tension. You know, like they're kind of touching every era, as you mentioned, of Mission Impossible in this, which is cool. So using Kittredge and filming a scene that's more Mission Impossible 1 style.
Absolutely.
Brilliant.
Yes.
And in Mission Impossible 1, there's a scene after Ethan's team is all killed. He's freaking out. He goes to meet Kittredge, who is his handler at the time. And they meet in this cafe in Amsterdam, I think, or what city are they in? I think it's Amsterdam.
I can't remember.
They have this cafe confrontation, and this scene's kind of famous for these Dutch angles that Brian De Palma uses, right? Which these crazy tilted Dutch angles, these close-ups of Tom Cruise's face and Henry Czerny, Kittredge, as it's revealed that they believe that Ethan Hunt is the mole, and they're bringing him in, right? And his paranoia is just shown on screen through these Dutch angles. And I feel like when they have this confrontation, this conversation scene between Kittredge and Ethan Hunt in this one, it's a reference to that scene where they have these sort of extreme close-ups, a slight Dutch angle to them, maybe not as strong of a Dutch angle as Mission Impossible, but you can't out Dutch angle Brian De Palma.
No,
right?
Brian De Palma, son of Alfred Hitchcock, impossible, to out.
Yeah,
to out Dutch.
But I just love that they're sort of referencing it through the filmic language, and it's great stuff.
Yeah, we love this kind of attention to detail. I think, at least I know I do. So that's great. Classic Mission Impossible 1. We get a mask, and he's basically saying, Kittredge is like, "We're coming after you," and in classic Ethan Hunt, he's like, "No, you're not. Stay out of my way. Fuck up." It's classic opposition. You're not gonna stop me from doing what I need to do.
Yeah,
and
you can't
beat.
This is me listening.
Yeah,
no, this is Give me Ozark. You wanted me to help out? This is me helping out.
The way the scene ends is hilarious too, because it's like, how are you planning to get out of here? And it cuts to Ethan. He's putting a mask on of Kittredge, and he's like, "Oh, of course." And he knocks him out with the dart.
Of course, that's what you do. Yeah, that's right. That was great.
Amazing stuff.
I've had too much Mission Impossible stacked on top of this now for me to separate the threads a little bit, so I will need team leader guidance.
Again, the McQuarrie of it all. It kind of all does blend together like spaghetti.
Yeah.
Oh yes, but very good scene. Yeah.
So we know Ethan's mission. He needs to find these. He's got. Well, the keys are in all different hands throughout the movie, so it's kind of hard to keep track of what's going on. But he has one key at this point, right? And he needs the other half.
He understands now what he has picked up from the council. What did you call them again? Tell me one more time.
The community, the intelligence community.
I really hate it.
Community.
What he learned from the community is that the entity is an AI, and that people want to get their hands on it. He does not know what the key is for. He does not know what the key unlocks or where that would be necessarily, but he's set up on his mission, and then this is what I'm now realizing is the COVID stuff, but to me this was kind of the weakest, which is we cut to just him sitting at a table with Benji and Luther in the Abu Dhabi airport. It's all very close up. We don't see anything around them. It feels very empty and strange, and he's like, and that's the mission. Opposed to what's kind of fun about these movies is the Luther gets off a plane. He tells you what he's been up to for 5 minutes, right? And we've kind of gotten away from that. It's really become much more like, and I'm your father, Ethan Hunt. Here's what we're doing today, children.
I do want to say about Luther, Ving Rhames, gotta love him. The only other actor to be in every Mission Impossible movie from the first one, right?
Every single one.
Even if it's only for a scene at the end like Ghost Protocol. I feel like he has now a standing agreement with Tom Cruise where it's like, Ving, just come by, shoot as much as you want, be in the movie as much as you want. You can wear whatever hat you want. You don't have to stand up. You can just sit down at your computer. And even in this one, he just leaves the movie with an hour left. He's like, all right, I got to go do computer stuff.
This hard drive can't be connected to the internet, AI, whatever. I got to disappear.
Let me tell you what my plot for the next movie is going to be. Jacob, to support that, my favorite interview I have ever seen an actor give about a film that they're in is Luther for, I believe, Fallout, who was like, people ask me what it's like working for Tom Cruise. I'll tell you what it's like. Actors are the greatest producers. only a mega star like Tom Cruise would know. When I tell him that for dinner that night, what I need from craft services is lobster, he knows it has to be Maine lobster. It has to be the best of the best. And like he's going on like this, and you just like that, like you just know that Ving Rhames is in it for just like, this is the best shot I have at like being a movie star still.
Yeah.
Shit on that at every second, and I love it. I love it.
Well, it's like some of it's some of the Fast and Furious crew members. Like every time there's a new movie, I know I'm gonna get this gig.
Tyrese, how are you? How are you, my boy?
Getting that international residuals or what, my dude? Let's go.
Right. Come on, my man.
But again, wear whatever hat you want. Just hang out. Have a scene where you say Ethan Hunt is your best friend every movie, and
you explain to a woman why Ethan Hunt deserves to be loved, and he will never love you back. He's basically your role. Yeah. It's like, wow, he's such a good guy.
Because he loves others so
much.
The
greatest.
Yeah. It would be too selfish of him to love.
We have the meats. Yes.
And
never forget that he's the voice of Arby's. Yes,
I'm sure they do. And he killed a lot of zombies in the only good Zack Snyder movie.
That's right. That is true. And of course, is it Ving Rhames who's in Pulp Fiction? Is it Ving Rhames?
Marcellus Wallace. Yeah.
Yeah. Dope.
There we go.
Dope.
So he's into lots of cool
Ving
stuff.
Rhames.
Niche stuff. But he doesn't do a lot in this.
No. He breaks a lot of laptops by standing up, Mike. He like stands up and throws his laptop down. They're like, shit, Luther got violent. Wow.
Yep. Never been.
He does it twice.
Laptops of course, you have Simon Pegg as Benji. Dunn, an addition from the third Mission Impossible movie, who's stuck around and become. What's that?
J.J. Abrams did the third.
Yes.
Friends
and
with JJ.
Put Simon Pegg in
there.
Star Trek. Collaborate.
Listeners, you might have heard us talk all about this very recently.
And like Colin said last week, originally going to be played by Ricky Gervais. So I'm glad that didn't happen because Simon Pegg is a much better actor than Ricky Gervais, in my opinion.
What do we think of the airport sequence, though? We learned that there's potentially a shadowy figure from Ethan's past, Gabriel, but it's like we don't know for sure if he's there. So there's a chase of agents trying to find Ethan, Gabriel trying to find Ethan, and then Benji trying to stop a bomb. There's all these things happening at once.
Yeah, they need to find the person that has the key in this airport that's going to be flying to a buyer. So they're looking for this person with the key. As Ethan is coming across this person, they get pickpocketed by a new character, right?
Who's also after the key and intercept. And who do we have here?
This is Grace. This is Haley Atwell, who, of course, we've talked about 1,000 times through various Marvel productions. She plays Peggy Carter. We love her. I love her in this. This features maybe the funniest wording I've ever seen. You guys just said she is, of course, a pickpocket. She's a professional thief. Ethan intercepts her and explains to her he respects her skills, but what he needs her to do now is to be a put pocket. He needs her to return something to her mark. And that is, I mean, that's Christopher McQuarrie.
That's great.
Shutting the laptop that day and being like, you know what? I earned that $1 million.
So, yep, that'll do. No, that's an incredible line. I did that registered. I was like, man, good work.
Put pocket.
I will say,
a put pocket, Mike.
What has Mission Impossible been missing that this movie adds? Close-up magic. That's what close-up illusions, hand-to-hand magic. This is where Mission Impossible's been missing. Ethan Hunt, doing things with the keys. Haley Atwell.
It's not the only time he's going to do it.
Yeah, it just seems like a lot of characters are joining this team because of their specific skills, Jacob. But it also always seems like Ethan is better at what they do and can explain to them what they need to do better about what they're doing.
It's like the manager that's like, it would take me longer to explain it to you than to do it myself. But like when times are slow, you can do it. But otherwise, just get out of my way. I'm Ethan Hunt. You know?
Because as an IMF agent, he basically is good at everything, right?
Yes.
He can do guns. He can do athletic things. He can do close-up magic.
Can I have a pause?
Yeah.
This is a little bit of a show reel for Tom Cruise's real-life abilities. The whole franchise. So what do we know? He can speak Italian. He can speak French. He can speak German. He can speak Mandarin. He can do close-up magic, ride a motorcycle, ride a horse. Like, whatever he can do, he just wants to put on the big screen.
Wearing a mask.
Yeah, I believe any gun in his hands he's used before. I've heard this question on a different podcast. I want to pose it to you guys. would you feel safe him flying you in like an F-16 or one of those like fighter jets from Maverick? Like if you had to be in like the back of the cockpit,
Well, he is
actor Tom
Probably.
Cruise flying the most dangerous machine ever devised by man, going supersonic speeds. No? Yes?
Well, we know he can pilot helicopters too, right?
Well, yeah, I say might as well. Who else are you going to ride in there with? Like a regular pilot? If I'm going to be in that machine, might as well be with Tom Cruise.
Yeah, might as well.
Or Harrison Ford.
Yeah, maybe.
Then you might crash. But
The G forces, G stands for geriatric.
yeah.
Sorry. That was rude, and I retract it. We love you, Harrison. I just wanted to make the joke. I don't mean it. Anyway.
But
So it's close-up magic or can be
Hear
put
what
pocket.
Mike said about me?
I just wanted to be noticed, Dad.
Indy. We didn't mean that. We're turning the dial back. Don't worry.
We're turning that back. I was just joking, Harrison. You're great.
there is some, Harrison Ford has done like rescue missions where he volunteers to like if someone's stranded in the wilderness, he'll pick them up in his plane. So just imagine you're lost in the woods, and the person who comes in a plane to pick you up is Harrison Ford. I mean,
I'd rather have that happen than just get in a casual flight with Tom Cruise, to be fair. You ready to get out of here, kid? Like, yes, Mr. Ford.
Wait, so call sign Maverick for sure. So what is it? It's Falcon. It's like Falcon coming in to rescue you. and you're
Solo?
like,
Yeah.
Okay. It is.
probably be
Solo.
like Indiana because
Solo on the way. Indiana.
Indy Solo coming down.
Yeah.
Wow. Is that? Oh, it is. Hi.
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, but
If I made that joke when he picked me up, he'd say, "Get off my plane." But back to the mission.
If
Oh
he
my
picked me
gosh.
up, I would put on a parachute and be like, "We're about to go down."
I would trust.
So the key's constantly
not.
shuffling between these factions, right? It's getting pickpocketed, put-pocketed, the mark's getting taken out. What's happening?
Meanwhile,
and so,
we have this
bomb defusal.
government person.
Oh, yeah.
We have the Shea Wiggum character.
Oh,
his group
yeah.
trying
Sure.
to find Tom Cruise, Ethan.
They just
and
work
they're
for
using
Kittredge,
the-
right? Yeah.
Yeah, but they're using
work
the
for the-
facial recognition technology, but that Luther is hacking to make it seem like Tom, that Ethan's on the other side of the airport.
Correct.
different
They're
person,
kind of
right? So
deep faking in real time,
Yeah.
so to speak.
there's a lot of shenanigans going on at the airport.
Yeah, the
Right, but
Invisible
then-
Man.
Yeah, and we see some of that too, where now the AI is even getting involved and interfering with their tech and even setting riddles in part of the bomb defusal. So this is the first time we're seeing the entity kind of actively involved, where it's cloaking someone completely from Ving Rhames' stuff that he's doing. Like there's somebody being removed from security, and Tom Cruise has special AR goggles, so that person can be removed from his vision too, which will come into play later. Which I thought was a really interesting idea, like really real time. An AI removing someone from camera feeds, that's an interesting concept.
Yeah, it's essentially doing what it was doing in the beginning with the sub, where it's telling a sub that it's out there when it's really not. Like the fact that we rely on digital technology so much to tell us what's going on, and that can be manipulated by this entity, that is like a scary thought that like we're not even perceiving reality, man. Like with that, like it can tell us whatever, we can make reality whatever we want it to be. So
Right, which I wish they would lean into that more maybe in the second one, but like there's a point, not to get too far, but when Benji's in a car going to do a thing and he's navigating, I'm like, he's going to get kidnapped 100% by this vehicle. But,
Mike, I was like, what an interesting setup this is. Of course that's how you could go. And then it doesn't, and you're like, wait, why did we focus on that
I
so
thought that was
much
going to be the
then? That's
cliffhanger.
So strange.
No,
yeah,
just need
but
a
anyway.
scene where he turns on the self-driving and then gets in the passenger seat to work.
Is that
on
a
his computer,
commercial?
right?
He turned on the self-drive, but anyway, we'll
Tesla.
get there.
Yeah.
For now, he's got to figure out he's done right now because there's, literally a ticking clock.
You are done. So the entity is the Riddler.
Yeah, and it's making him
knows
do a
who I am.
CAPTCHA. Yeah, basically.
No, not done. D-O-N-E. Luther shouts out, "We're not done yet." When he hears his partner say that, he's just like yelling at a ghost, basically. Tell that thing we're gonna win. It's like, Luther, relax.
And
But it
it's
is
basically
interesting
just
by-
asking him, what was your first pet's name? What street did you like? Personal
by asking these
questions.
questions, it's learning and it's
Yes.
adapting, it's understanding. And
Yeah.
that's a scary thought, and that's what we're all doing when we sign up to, on Google and shit.
And the bomb
Yes.
is empty. They defuse it, and in the end, there's nothing in there. It was just a prank, bro.
Yeah.
Just a misdirect.
What
so
do
that
you care about most in life? Right?
my friend.
My friend.
We legally can't say family anymore thanks to Vin Diesel. So
Are you scared of dying? No. What happened? I lied. Why? Just say it. Yes. Oh.
be vulnerable.
Just scared of dying.
But that's a misdirect too, to kind of keep him busy while the agent of the entity. Who gets the key in the end here? That's what I can't remember.
They put it
So,
back on the guy's body
Grace-
to do the thing, right?
Well, and then Grace has it.
Well, he gets killed.
And then the guy, gets killed. But she
Guy
goes
gets
to
killed.
put pocket him.
Grace has it and escapes from Tom Cruise, right? A lot of this movie is just Haley Atwell running away from Tom Cruise and Tom Cruise
Yeah.
trying to catch her.
Well,
but
yeah,
she gets on
yeah.
a flight to Italy, and remember, she stashes it. She meets the guy on the flight, pretends
Just-
to be like into
yep.
him,
Yeah,
stashes it on
and
him.
Tom Cruise is literally like, "I called ahead. You're arrested." All this dumb stuff I really don't like.
That's
Quick
right.
digression. The person who kills the person with the key. Now, we're talking about how much we like Rebecca Ferguson.
Mhm.
And I don't want this to sound like an incredibly heteronormative podcast. It's not, we promise.
Mhm.
But we left this movie, I think, and I think the rest of the world did as well, falling in love with a certain person who appeared now as the assassin killer Paris. I am, of course, talking about Pom Klementieff.
Yes.
Mantis
She's great.
from Guardians of the Galaxy. She's a henchwoman to the entity, or to Gabriel.
She's
I
a
guess.
heavy.
She's the heavy for Gabriel, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, she kills it in this role.
She is awesome in this
yeah.
fucking movie.
Yeah.
She is a
Electric.
superstar. Yes.
And does it, without many lines, but she just has such a screen presence that she doesn't even need that many lines to make
No.
such an impact on us. And I will say,
yeah.
this movie, if I can just say, has maybe like the most attractive female cast ever assembled in a
difficult.
movie. Like, it's insane.
Now, what I just said about not wanting to come off too straight, it is hard. It is
Yeah.
hard talking about this movie where you just
But
go,
we have to.
yeah,
we have
it's
to
the
say it.
sexiest movie ever made. It has to be said.
I mean,
Yeah.
to be fair, everyone is sexy, but yeah, it is. She is great. All the leads are great, but everyone's written well too. Like all the characters have meaningful stuff to do. Like no one's just chilling to be eye candy. Everyone has a function in the plot, and I think that's really
Yeah.
great with it
Yes.
too.
And like the Haley Atwell character, Grace, is a really good addition.
Yes.
And she's not just another agent or a spy. She's
No.
What
a
side
career
is she
pickpocket,
on?
Which is so
Is she going to be an
interesting.
ally?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
And
fascinating.
then like throughout the movie, Ethan is kind of trying to recruit her to the IMF and say like, hey, you can use your abilities for like good instead of just stealing stuff from people. that
Once
make
the
money.
film ends, and again, you understand the importance of the opening Ethan Hunt scene and realize that, and Jacob and I talked about this, Mike, just a side opinion thing. I think this film does a really good job of skipping the part 2, part 1 curse, because this film is about Haley Atwell's character. They make the awesome choice to be like, what if her through line? It's the Infinity War choice of Thanos is the main character. What if Haley Atwell was the main character?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, and
she's
she
the
is
newcomer
incredible.
into this world of impossible missions. So,
Force.
she's sort of the audience point of view character where she's, learning about this world and
The different factions. What's like? She has to be explained. This is what I'm looking for. This is who's coming for it. These are the stakes, And Tom Cruise is
Yep.
trying to say, "Trust me." If you took a drink every time he says, "You got to trust me in these movies," you die.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Oh my
If-
God.
Yeah,
Just trust
it
him
is
the first time he
hilarious how
asks
much
you,
the
people.
movie
When
is
you gonna
like-
learn?
Yeah.
No.
Her trying to get away, him handcuffing her to him so she can't
Yeah.
get away.
It
But
gets a
how
little
fun is
tired.
that?
Yeah.
But
But
I
it
don't
has
know.
sort
Can
of
we-
a screwball
yeah.
comedy ness to it that I like because it's that classic,
That feels like old
archetype.
Hollywood.
like
Almost.
bringing up baby kind of thing. So yeah, I
Weird
like
physical
that.
Yeah,
comedy.
two people being like, "Oh well, I'm flustered," and
Yeah.
they're just so
It
hot
happened
to each
one
other
night.
that they're going to be so cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Different personalities, and she's obviously a criminal. He's like trying to be like, hey, you don't have to be a criminal. You can be good.
He's a war criminal. No. He's always
Yeah.
doing the good thing.
I was a criminal once too. Let's say real quick, when he was in the airport, he saw the glitch, he saw the Invisible Man, he saw Isai Morales as Gabriel,
Mhm.
this figure from his past. It's revealed. We get an Ethan Hunt flashback. We do not see a Tom Cruise face. We see a long-haired young man chasing after a dyed-haired Isai Morales as Gabriel. He kills a woman. Ethan Hunt is devastated. Cut
And this is
forward. So
pre-
we're getting a little more. Yeah.
This is a pre-Mission Impossible 1
Yes.
flashback where we're seeing something of Ethan's origin that we've never seen before in these movies. And maybe the
And he-
reason why he joined IMF.
He
Yeah.
says the words later, Gabriel even maybe created me. Oh,
Which Fast and the Furious, we have Dante. Like, we're gonna do a flashback to create a character, but handled, I think, maybe better, I guess.
And James Bond with the Spectre character, right? It's kind of this thing where it's like, I'm the architect of all your pain, right? It's kind of doing the same thing that the James Bond movies did, which is like, oh, what if there was like one person behind all this stuff that created Ethan Hunt that's like his ultimate nemesis that kind of, for me, didn't always work. Because here's the thing, the character of Gabriel in this movie, not super fleshed out. So that's one of the nitpicks I have with this movie. I think like Solomon Lane from the last two movies was a more interesting foil for Ethan Hunt than Gabriel has been so far.
Is really good,
yeah, dude.
So it's his dark self. You know, what if IMF was doing nefarious things? You know, like Lane is a great character.
Really, through the actions that he does in Rogue Nation of Fallout, he kind of is Ethan, like the closest thing that Ethan's had to like someone that's like on his level that can like match up with him. Even when he catches him at the end of Rogue Nation in that glass box in a really cool way, right? It finally gets one
smoke. He loves using smoke to put people to sleep. And who taught him that trick? Lane taught him that in the record store.
That's right.
So I just want more from Gabriel, maybe in the second. Part two.
Mainly him saying it has been written. It's just him saying, you know, we learned that the entity has figured out so many possible outcomes. Everything is predestined, right? So Gabriel has this incredible force of just being correct about everything on his side. It's boring. It just sucks.
Yeah, I mean...
basically, Gabriel is following the orders of a computer. So he's just...
But it means he doesn't take, and he doesn't have to take action because the computer generally predetermines, oh, the key will end up at my feet, or this will happen. So he just kind of strolls around, and then the thing he said would happen happens. He doesn't do a ton until like the final act with the train stuff.
But
did any of you guys end up going further through Westworld? Did either of you guys get to season 3?
No.
I got to season 3. I did not finish it.
That is, and this is definitely a spoiler for that. So spoiler warning on top of spoiling stuff for this. But my father, I never got through it, but my father told me when he was watching it, this whole story about Vincent Cassell is that whole season. He's actually just like a guy who works for an AI that's figured out all the predestination stuff. And he's doing it because he feels like he has to. It's just, I feel like I've seen another sci-fi stuff too. I just want to point out that I'm sure listeners are like, oh, that's plot's been done 500 times before.
No, even in Hobbs and Shaw, the Fast and Furious spinoff, it's also kind of about that.
This is very Hobbs and Shaw, Jacob. Yes.
Well, even
not
in
a compliment.
1984 Neuromancer book, there's like elements of an AI manipulating people into doing things, and it's like you don't realize. It's like it would be cooler if he didn't even know he was being manipulated until like the third act. Like if he thought he had free will, and even that kind of thing. But
we
hopefully
don't
the
get a
second
lot
movie will
about
be better.
Gabriel's motivations himself, or like why he's aligning himself with the entity. I guess just to have that power. But again, I think Solomon Lane, a more interesting character and with more interesting motivations. He's still alive, as far as I know, in the universe. So he's a character that could bring back at some point. But I do think it's like the whole AI predictive algorithm thing, in the context of Mission Impossible, is interesting because that's kind of, it's all about, you know, Lane versus Hunt in those movies. It's like thinking 3 steps ahead of, you know, Lane thinks I'm going to do this.
What if that's what he wants us to do? Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an extension of, instead of a human doing that, it's now an AI who has a far superior ability to predict things, right?
Yeah, we cannot beat them in chess.
Conclusion. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's basically saying Ethan Hunt has no mortal human being can match up to him. So now his only competitor is this AI.
Right. Potentially a demigod at level being. But, you know, I'm okay with it, I think, thematically, you know, with what's going on today. I just think Gabriel needs to be fleshed out more. But let's talk Rome. You know, we get to Rome. I don't remember fine details. I know there's a big car chase.
She's arrested. He pretends to be her lawyer. Well, what about those Americans? Aren't they with you? Oh, no, it's Shea Wiggum again. We got to go on the run. You're on the run. It is written. Paris is chasing you. It's again, it just, I read that people kind of think this film falls to the Macquarie formula of, it appears when they write these Mission Impossible films, him and Tom, we talked about it with John Wick a little bit, him and Tom outline the stunts and then go, what's the plot around it?
Right.
This one feels a little scene to scene action, right?
I could buy
even
that.
with the car chase, like, it's well shot and it's well edited so that it stays interesting. And even if you compare it to, like, again, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, it's just so much, like, there's so much more stakes to this where you're like, you know,
it's grounded.
Like, yeah. So I don't know. For me,
it's like
it worked. Yeah.
Yeah, I love this car chase. Well, it's like two.
Yeah.
It's like there's a serious car chase, and then they need to get a second car, and then we get this little Fiat, and it's like electric, and he doesn't know how to. That's when they're handcuffed together. They have to take turns driving it. There's like fun kind of
it is
physical
fun.
comedy.
The whole, like, getting the safe car, which is that Fiat, and then like it not working right away. There's
and it's like new technology, and he's old Tom Cruise. Like, oh, they keep changing the design.
Really, like, every time I get one of these, you gotta understand it's hard to do. And I liked the very human reactions from her of, after the first crash, she's like, I do not want to drive anymore.
Yeah, you drive, and
they're
then
in
she
a
has
situation
to.
where she has to drive because of the way they're handcuffed together, and
all that stuff
it's
is
funny.
fun. And then you got Paris driving this giant truck, crashing into scooters, just being a maniac.
Laughing. She is maniacally laughing, Mike.
She's like the Joker.
Huge combat
Harley
boots.
Quinn.
She's wearing like a
Yeah.
schoolgirl skirt. She's
literally
awesome.
Harley Quinn.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's very cool.
Very much. But she's extremely badass. Like, completely different from her sweet, soft-spoken Mantis. It's like night and day, and she's just crushing it. Even just driving a truck, she has so much more personality than like any Fast and the Furious moment, you know?
Yes.
So I like the car chase. And then did we get a John Wick thing, or is there more on the car chase? Oh,
pretty much.
Well, just the car chase, like, to compare it to Fallout, the Paris scene in Fallout where they have to break Solomon Lane out of that car and there's a whole chase and stuff. Which one do you prefer? Do you prefer that scene in Fallout, or do you prefer this car chase in Rome?
I prefer the Fallout. I like that whole setup of the French police officer woman, which is kind of mirrored in this when he has to speak Italian, right, to the woman who, when they're escaping the lawyer thing, he's like, it's not what it looks like, like, she's my client and stuff.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I just prefer Fallout in general more.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Probably. Okay. We'll have a rankings discussion, I think, when we wrap this up. But
But so where do we go from here? I'm trying to think of the next. Well, there's a big meetup scene, this party that the entity is throwing.
Oh, we do the John Wick scene. That's what I call this. The John Wick sequence.
They all meet up in a nightclub and sit around and talk about the entity.
Well, here's the thing real quick. They get away in this car, and they're in Italy, and they're like, oh my God, things are terrible. On a bus or a little boat, I can't remember which one comes first, Benji comes up and is like, no, we're all together, in fact, and the team is reunited, and this is where it's revealed Rebecca Ferguson is not dead. She hid herself away or faked it or whatever.
Ilsa Faust is there.
And we get, this is our moment of core team. We're not going to get it a lot in this movie, so important to point out, we sort of get everybody firing on all cylinders here, and yes, the setup that we are going to go back to the White Widow and have to interact with the entity.
Vanessa Kirby.
Yes.
Yeah. Another actress that I'm very attracted to.
It's hard.
And she's not an established character in the franchise, though, right?
Well, she was in Fallout.
She wasn't Fallout. That's the one. Yeah, just prior.
Yeah,
the ones I rewatched.
Fallout.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep track, I know.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
And there's been so many characters that do kind of come and go, like Jeremy Renner
I miss him.
2 movies.
Where is he?
Honestly, get him for the final one.
They need to bring back all of Ethan's former team members that never showed up again, right?
But now it would be like him with a K, and he'd be like, hey, how are you guys? And we'd all be like, oh, thank God he's still alive. We love you, Jeremy Renner.
You're like, what happened? He's like, I didn't trust what Ethan told me to trust him with one time.
Yes.
But yeah, hopefully he's doing okay.
Yeah. I'm sure he's doing good.
But bring him back if you can. Yeah.
Please.
We love you, Jeremy. Hope you're doing good. But what was I just saying?
Well, they're night clubbing. We're talking.
Yeah. So they all.
White Widow. I always get distracted when I think about her too.
She
set up
was
this
introduced in
character.
Fallout.
Yeah. Please.
Now here's another tie into the first movie, because she is the daughter of the Vanessa Redgrave character from the first movie, Max, the arms dealer that Ethan does a deal with.
Trying
and
to get the
everything.
code. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of mirrors, and
files.
again, this movie ends with a big train sequence where she's making a financial transaction on a train, which is exactly what her mom does in first Mission Impossible. So, yeah,
not
tie-ins
bad.
are cool. But her and her brother were in Fallout as well. Arms are these people that they're brokers, right? They make connections, but they're also working with the CIA because she basically just does things for the CIA to get like on their good side so that she can also do illegal things. So, and she knows Ethan from the last movie as John Lark because he was pretending to be John Lark when they met, if you remember. So it's a whole thing. Right. But this nightclub scene, it's like all the major characters in this movie meeting, face to face. You've got Gabriel there. You've got the White Widow. You've got Ethan.
You thought our characters were sexy. You thought every gender of person was sexy. Every race, every creed in this film franchise. Let's have them dressed to the nines.
Yeah.
We're going to get everyone looking great. And they all do.
We got Palm in the back just hanging out.
She's in her most Harley Quinn.
With like the tear on her face. Like incredible. Yeah.
Yep. But everyone kind of spells out what their claim, what they want the AI for. Everyone's trying to make a case,
I am going to sell it to whatever world government I want. That will buy me their trust and love, but of course make me enemy number one against what will now be the number one superpower to protect me, right?
Right. And even Gabriel is there to make his pitch of like, you should give it to the entity.
The entity says
it's gonna get it no matter what.
It loves keys. And in fact, we're all the entity. Who threw? You didn't throw this party. The entity did.
And we see all the projectors and screens now have the call sign of the entity. Yeah. He is the party. Ooh,
that's right. Wow. And Tom Cruise straight up says, you wouldn't be here or doing this if you weren't afraid. And he calls this thing like a cuck, basically.
Yeah. The whole point is that the entity is afraid of Ethan Hunt because he's so powerful and he can think ahead like a machine would, that it's the one human that this AI is scared of.
Yeah, it wouldn't even send Gabriel if it was so confident. No. Right.
Yeah.
No.
But Gabriel here gives him this ultimatum where he's like, Ethan, you're going to have to choose. One of these women in your life is going to die. It's either going to be
a night,
Ilsa Faust, or this newcomer, Grace. One of them will die. And here we get to part that I didn't totally love about this movie, which is this whole thing of like, oh, you must choose between these two women in your life. It's kind of a trope of like, we need to give our male lead some more stakes, right? So we're going to kill off a woman that he cares about. Like that's become a trope, right?
They call it fridging.
Yes.
Fridging, exactly. Yes.
So getting into the spoiler of where we're leading to. Of course, there's this big sort of fight scene where he's misled by the entity because the entity impersonates Benji's voice on his comms. So he's like, tell him to go to the wrong place. So he's not there in time to save one of these two women that's going to die. And so Gabriel is going to kill Grace, but then Ilsa Faust steps in and saves Grace by fighting Gabriel herself, but then being seemingly killed by Gabriel, right? Ilsa Faust is dead.
Great knife fight
after a fake out death. Yeah,
right. But a good scene. But it seems like they've dooskied Elsa.
Well, this is my problem. So I don't know, because of course she may not actually be dead, because they did foreshadow that in the beginning with faking her death. Maybe that's a sign that that she's again faking her death and she'll show up in part 2.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Here's my thing. I think people are very quick to jump to fridging. It's kind of a very popular in the way that Mary Sue was a few years ago, where people are like, I got you. This is that thing where you go, okay. This was a term that came about because in comic books it would be like, I'm your girlfriend who's the waitress at the diner. I am not a person. I am your girlfriend.
And the next scene is him opening up
my head cut off,
her body.
In a fridge or whatever. I'm then killed. But
Right.
the idea that you are, like you said, killing someone of a different sex to affect your hero, you know, their romantic partner, whatever, push them on this journey. It, again, you were out of the bathroom. We do get some confirmation in this one. There is some romantic tension between Ilsa and Ethan.
And that's
but
been
bubbling for 2 movies, sure.
Well, and I do know, like, for instance, in Fallout, there was a kiss scene between them that was cut because they felt like it didn't work, and it worked better when it as a more unspoken thing, but definitely a tension there that might be a romantic tension,
I love that.
I admire the restraint to cut it, though.
Yes, show me that deleted scene. But Ilsa is a character. I understand what she wants in these movies. She has a very clear through line in this film, and it has been in the past, the scenario was Benji is the person versus another female character. Tom Cruise would take it as personally because, as Ethan Hunt says 15 times in this film, I love all of you. You are all my children.
Yes.
It's like, I love you all.
His team members' lives are more important than his life to him.
They always will be.
It's notable because this is the first time that a member of his team was killed in a Mission Impossible movie since the first one, when his entire team was killed.
Wow.
So,
interesting.
If you think about it that way,
Paula Patton's not dead. I guess not.
No, she just doesn't show up again after Ghost Protocol. But
that's so weird.
Yeah, my problem is this: the way that she's killed off. It's kind of, I don't know. It's like, it seems weird, and it's almost to the point where I do think they're going to bring her back because it's so kind of, there's not enough emphasis on it where they're just moving on afterwards without.
I would say that is what is weird about it, is that it's so called out and then so quickly brushed off.
Yes. And my problem with it, if she does come back, I'll be more happy. If she doesn't come back, I think it's a bad way to kill her off, and also it seems sort of a transparent attempt to kill off Ilsa Faust and replace her essentially with the Haley Atwell character Grace as Ethan's new potential love interest. And it's even, I mean, this whole movie is like pitting them against each other, where it's like, choose one will die, this new girl that you just met, or this girl that you had a extended relationship with over a few years, a few movies. And it's just like the way they kill her off, it just seems so, and she's barely in the movie up to that point, and it just seems like they are going to bring her back, because if they don't, it'd be a weird storytelling choice.
What do you think?
I'm coming from a place of less Rebecca Ferguson bias and less familiarity with the character.
Insane.
No, I'm kidding. But I see what you're saying. I have a tinfoil hat that's like, Ethan will play it like she's dead because the entity wants him to behave like he has to behave like she's dead. It's I could see that happening.
Foreshadowing in the beginning, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
And I don't buy Grace as a love interest. I do see a mentor-mentee thing. I'm not buying that for 1 second at all.
I feel that way as well.
Well, again, but I do think Hollywood fashion, it is two actresses that are 20 years younger than Tom Cruise.
Both of them are?
Yeah, they're both like early 40s. Wow. He's in his 60s, so it's like.
Oh, I guess that's true. Yes.
Yeah,
fair enough.
But that's rampant throughout Hollywood. It's not just
this movie needed to be about Grace, right? And it is, and we'll make room for maybe the next movie to bring her back.
I think Grace is a great character independently of her relationship to Ethan Hunt. So I like that she's.
But you know what,
Jacob?
Character. You saying that now, if it was Michelle Pfeiffer that played Grace, like who she is right now, like her age, I don't know how old Michelle is. She's probably in her 60s, right? Like, that would be fucking awesome.
Quantumania.
Hey, sign me up.
Yeah, but it's just anytime it's a 60-year-old actor, you almost never see them paired with a 60-year-old actress. It's usually. A
10-year-old actress. No. 80 years old and 10 years old.
It's just something that I feel like we have to call out.
Yeah. But that is a Hollywood thing that happens. We're getting better, but it's not. This film is not absent, absolved. But let's say 60-year-old guy. It is a bummer. The character could have been killed better. I like the fight. I really like the chase. I like Ethan getting misled by the AI, and I really like. I just wanted to bring up that narrow little alleyway fight scene with the goon, Paris, and Tom.
Yes,
Ethan.
And then that sets
absolutely
up
brutal.
That's why he doesn't make it on time. Yeah.
Yes, but the keeping Paris alive, that he makes the choice consciously.
He just hits the pipe on the wall. He's like, God I can't kill you. Yeah, it's like he spares her, but that
Yeah.
fight is very, very cool.
When she
Fight
jumps
is
over
brutal,
him,
like, the
it's awesome.
Sound effects of
Yeah.
like, heads being slammed into like
And
brick
she's
walls and
so
stuff.
visceral too. Like she's
Yes.
scary as hell. So shout
And
out.
acrobatic.
She
Yep.
doesn't hold back. I think she murders a bunch of people like in that Rome car chase.
She just
scene,
runs him
like-
over.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
she
And
does
She's
not
laughing
care.
again. She's crazy.
Yeah, she's Harley
Yeah.
Quinn. But that was a good fight scene, and then we see 60-year-old man running very quickly, faster than I can run right now. Like we get at that age, he's getting up to speed. I don't know if they hit a treadmill behind those candles, but
So do this quick Google search for me then, Jacob. How old is Shea Wiggum? Because you get what is maybe an accurate 60-year-old man who is like out of breath chasing after a 60-year-old man who is just capable of turning into the Flash.
I got 54.
54, so Shea Wiggum is
he's
younger than Tom
Cruise.
Cruise.
Yeah.
Would you have guessed that looking at them? That's insane.
Probably.
Just
No.
Knowing the
Tom Cruise-
vampiric state of Tom Cruise,
Shea
yes.
Wiggum looks like he's 70. He looks like he smokes a pack a day. What are
Well,
you
he's
talking
playing
about?
his typical role of a police officer
Yeah.
or someone like that who's
Authority
a step behind
figure.
the protagonist every step of the
Yes.
way in the movie in a very funny way.
Absolutely.
But I'll tell you another Tom Cruise age thing that kind of blows my mind. Tom Cruise in this movie is older than John Voight in the first
Oh
movie.
my god.
John Voight, I mean, some people look like, John Voight's looked like an old man for like 40 years, but
Yeah.
that kind of blows my mind.
They got snakes out there this big? Bring
Wild.
John Voight back. I don't care that he gets eaten by a helicopter at the end of the first film. Bring
Right.
John Voight back.
Yeah,
He's certainly not problematic in any sort of way. He seems like a great guy.
no.
I'm out of the loop on that, and I prefer to
great
remain that way.
Huge Trump supporter. Got
Oh,
the
geez.
National Merit Award or whatever from him.
Yeah, he's a big Republican, one of the famous Hollywood Republicans.
That's
There's
right.
Not that many, right? But
Okay.
Him and James Woods, just two
Yeah.
lunatics screaming
two
at
old
each other.
men, yeah,
The
Fair enough.
whitest people you'll ever meet in your life.
right.
Right.
But yeah, Tom Cruise in this movie is older than John
That's
Voight was in
horrifying.
the first movie.
and doing
I
some
He plays
I don't
an
like
old
to know
man.
that.
Yeah,
some legit incredible stunt work though.
yeah.
Yeah.
So is this where we kind of regroup? We have to hatch a plan. We know that the deal's supposed to go down.
Well, here's what's happening, Mike.
Yeah.
The entity out loud said through Gabriel's mouth, doesn't matter what happens tonight, and I'm going to kill one of these women. Tomorrow on the Orient Express, which is a train that exists, I will be on that and I will be getting one of these keys. And you're like, okay. So everybody knows that they need to head to the Orient Express or go rent the movie, is what I would have imagined, right?
Everyone at the nightclub knows. Yes, exactly. Going at that movie.
But the entity is like not even scared to tell them like that's its plan because
Yes, here's
it's
the
so
future.
confident.
The keys will be laid at my feet. I'll get both keys on the
Yes.
train. That's what's going to happen to me, Gabriel. I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about anything, meme.
Yeah.
Have you seen my ascot?
Right. This is my best turtleneck. You're like, yes, it is. It's
So-
quite good.
You look
Yeah,
great.
they need to hatch this plan of they know so the White Widow, Vanessa Kirby, is going to be on the train, and is going to make a deal for the key or sell the key. So they need to infiltrate. They need to pretend to be her, and of course, the only person that can do that, Ilsa's dead. It's got to be Grace, right?
Grace,
the only
yep.
other woman on the team.
Yeah, and you know what, guys? I'm realizing we get another strange moment from Benji, like the later car self-driving thing, where he literally just goes, "The mask thing broke. Everybody come here." And they're like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "It broke." And they're like, "How?" He's like, "It's really broken."
Well, yeah.
It's a convenient thing.
Presumably the
Okay.
AI did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh shit! They made a mask.
Protocol-
Fuck.
One of the reasons I really like Ghost Protocol, and I think it is my favorite of all the Mission Impossible movies, the kind of reoccurring theme throughout that movie is the technology constantly breaking and malfunctioning
Yes.
and not working properly. So their mask thing breaks,
Yes.
his gloves when he's climbing
Yes.
malfunction. Like, so that's kind of a reoccurring theme of the technology not working out. So I kind of feel like this is a reused bit from that of the mask thing
But
breaking, so they can
it's
a convenient
that-
reason, right, to not have
that
a
film
mask.
is the premise of it. You're right. Is the man triumphs over the technology. This, while that is sort of the theme, once again, it really is not about that. So it just
Yeah.
comes off weird.
Colin, you were 100% right. This is where we get to the point where Tom had written down motorcycle cliff jump, and they're like, okay, we'll
jump
break the
onto a
mask
train.
machine. Yeah, so we need to make
So,
sure you can't have a mask.
Why wouldn't you just get on with her?
Because the mask machine.
It's really
After
broken.
it made hers, and now it's really
Yeah.
broken.
It made
You
the
can't even
first
make
one.
contacts now. Yeah.
So could you get another by today? No, I could maybe fix one by the week, but it's really broken. Okay,
Yeah.
you said really broken 3 times now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Scotty cannot fix the engines at this
That's
juncture.
So
I'm giving
Yeah,
her all
so-
she's got, Ethan, but I can't fix the mask machine.
Yeah, I'm giving it all she's got, Captain Ethan. So we know she's gonna get on the train.
So
She
she's
has to
gonna
take out
impersonate
the White Widow, impersonate her, and somehow
Ethan was
Tom's
gonna
got to get on the
impersonate
train.
Her brother, but the machine broke, so we can't. So now he's
Yeah.
got to get on the train a different way, which means he's got a motorcycle cliff jump parachute onto the train. It's the only
First,
way.
there's an easier way, but he misses the window, something or
Yes.
other.
Gabriel is ahead. He knows that they
Yeah, he's
would
speeding
know.
Oh,
the
he's
train
speeding
up.
the train
Yeah.
up.
Yes.
So again,
And he's
another
making
doesn't
go
slow
faster.
down when it
a
needs
wrinkle
to,
in the
yeah.
plan. We're doing a classic Mission Impossible thing, and we kind of slowly build tension to the climax
Improvise.
of this entire movie. Yeah. This
Yeah,
end
that's right.
sequence, I think, is really, really strong. Probably the best part.
Yeah,
It's
it all happens on a
it's the
train.
marketing. Yeah.
Another mirroring of the first movie that had a big set piece on the train at
Mhm.
the end of it.
Yeah. That first movie, Dial of Destiny. You're right.
Yep.
And who's on this train? Pretty much everybody. We
Mhm.
find out White Widow, who she's meeting with. It turns out it's Kittredge.
So
who's there-
America is purchasing it.
Yes, so
Yes.
he's there
But then
representing America's interests.
We
Carrie
also know
Ewell's-
Gary. I say Elways.
Elways?
Ewell's interesting.
Ewell's might
No
be
idea.
wrong. I have
I
no idea.
no idea. Truly, is
I'd say
representing the interests
Roberts.
of. I just know what's going on and where the key needs to be inserted. Hey, I'm just gonna cash out here. Fuck
Yeah.
you guys. I'm the
Turns
mole.
out he's a bad guy. Surprise, surprise.
Mm-hmm.
Classic. Someone that you thought was a good guy is a bad guy.
Classic Mission
Classic.
Impossible. But yeah, there's a lot of good Mission Impossible elements here. With we get mask scene, we get a scene of like tense dialogue. Are they gonna find out? Cover gonna get blown? Oh, is the Mark waking up? No, she's not. Like there's great little beats here
Yeah.
that I think are really enjoyable. Meanwhile, Tom's just
Definitely.
like, Benji, I gotta get to the train. He says, keep following that trail, and just takes
Just
him up a
go.
mountain. He's like, when am I gonna descend? And he's like, soon. Like, don't
and again,
worry.
Luther has decided to leave at this point. Rebecca
Yeah.
Ferguson, Ilsa's Faust, is dead. So the team really is sort of at their thinnest. He's
Yeah.
only relying on Benji. He gets
Mm-hmm.
up to this thing, and we get the classic Tom Cruise of like, or we get the moment where Benji's like, "Oh, it's just a thing. Do the thing," and Tom Cruise doing the freak out. You know, the thing you said about the glove to Jeremy Renner, Jacob, where he's like, "No shit" or whatever.
Oh,
and this
shit.
he's like, "Oh, it's just a jump off a cliff." Like, you know, he's just like so worked up that you're
Yeah.
like, "It's great. It's such a good payoff."
I do
Yeah,
like
you
that
want me
Benji
to
is
jump
just
off a
like,
cliff? Yeah.
Come on, you're
Go ahead.
Ethan Hunt. Like,
Just
you know
do
how
it.
you can do this. Of course you
Yeah.
can.
It
Yeah,
still
no,
scares him.
I
Yeah.
love that they draw attention to that. Like, yeah, you're Ethan. Like they kind of break the fourth wall a little bit. Like when it's called Impossible Mission, like it can't really be. Like they could play with kind of the tropes that have existed, and I like
Right.
that. But his response of like, yeah, I'm just gonna jump off a cliff on a motorcycle, open a parachute on a moving train, and just have a clean descent. Like, are you crazy? It's like, okay.
Yeah.
This is the money shot. You know, trailers.
Yeah, so
That's right.
he drives a motorcycle. He's got to get away from the cliffside so he doesn't wreck himself on the rocks, right? So he
Mm-hmm.
launches as far as he can away from the cliff, jumps off the motorcycle, parachutes into the train.
Well,
And,
parachute's down, and
yeah.
hopefully he's gonna land on the train. But yes, it's this
in a very
cool one
cool
take.
shot. Yeah.
Yeah, 6 times for the day. This is our big set piece. Even the posters now for the other movies have just become the set pieces.
Yeah.
Where like the box
Right.
art for Mission Impossible 1 is the
Yeah,
wire.
This is the one where he hangs
Mhm.
onto a plane. Yeah.
This is the one where he's on the Burj Khalifa. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is our poster.
Yeah, and it's a cool moment, but I think it's almost like a red herring because it's not as a big of a moment as you think it's going to be. Really, it's just that's the big stunt of the movie, I guess.
It's just kind of silly that it pays off with a joke, Jacob.
Well,
I like
I
it.
liked,
but let's
I liked how it
say
paid off. Yeah,
Yeah. And the big conflict now is Gabriel's broken all the controls off the train. So his plan is to try to get it and just like disconnect a car and peace out, and everybody else is fucked. So
yeah,
Grace has got to like Ethan's like, just figure out how to stop the train. I don't know. just do it. And like, I got to go. Right. So she's trying to
Yeah.
navigate this whole thing. Yeah. So that's kind of one of our big things. Runaway
There's a
train.
bunch of hijinks. Shea Wiggum's on the train too, trying to figure out what's going on. Everyone's running back and forth. There's like
White Widow wakes up.
misconnection
Didn't
stuff.
I just meet with
Yeah.
you? Yeah. All this little stuff here.
Right.
It's very fun. But Gabriel shows up, right?
Yeah.
He's about to kill Grace.
He's
Oh
gonna
my
kill
God.
Grace,
And then Colin. Go ahead.
Tom comes, lands, and goes through the side of the train at
Lamb.
hits Gabriel as he's about to shoot her or something, and just
Yeah.
yeah. And this is so I like this because, like I said, there was an interview where Tom Cruise was talking about movies, talking about Buster Keaton and how much he likes Buster Keaton. He goes back and he watches those old Buster Keaton movies to see the stunts that he was doing.
Ridiculous.
And there's a stunt in Sherlock Jr. that's very reminiscent of this, where he goes through like the side of a building. And I think that was a direct reference to that.
Of course, the train from the general.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. And you know, fun fact, Jacob, you said he's kind of the American version of Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan's cited favorite film maker is Buster Keaton.
Oh, really?
So
see,
there you go.
These stunt guys really respect Buster
They
Keaton.
get
What
it.
he was doing
Some of the
in
stuff he's done is
20s.
still
Yeah.
crazy.
It's real.
Yeah.
That's why they all liked Burt Reynolds too. I mean, it was these guys who did their own stuff.
Yeah.
And
They
a
didn't
world
have
of
insurance and shit like that in the 20s. Like it was like, you're gonna nail this or you're gonna like die trying.
I barely afforded this tripod. I'm going to get on the train and I'm going to throw these railroad ties out of the, okay, Buster, you
Yeah.
got it.
I'll get run over.
Yep. This
There's no
wall's
CG,
going to fall and I hopefully will not get crushed to death.
If I'm 1 centimeter over, I will die. Yes.
Yep. So incredible stuff here. So Tom Cruise is a fan of movies, and we have a callback to his own. We get train action, fight on a train. I thought this was super well done. Like, considering we had another fight on a train with Indiana Jones, this is like when they're going through the tunnel and they got to duck and like there's shit that they got to roll out of this
like
way
night
of.
and day.
It's super cool.
It's crazy tense. Yeah. So
comparing it to the train scene in Dial of Destiny, it's like crazy how much better it is.
and like I don't think they were going under a tunnel, but I could believe that Tom wanted to. Or
absolutely.
But I can tell it's a CG monstrosity in Dial of Destiny.
Yeah, the way they
what I mean?
shot it, there's tension and stakes to the scene, whereas in
Realism.
Indiana Jones, it's just like, and then Mads Mikkelsen just gets hit in the face and falls off the train, but he's fine.
Cartoon.
And he survives it. In this movie, no, you would be fucking dead.
Yeah.
Mike, even when it feels like CG, it does not feel like the volume, where it's like a sort of, for what it does, it's important, but a very cheap special effect. This, again, you always get the feeling that Tom's like, if we're going to do it that way, if I can't convince Isai Morales to like drop as fast as he can on an actual tunnel, then we'll just do it the best way that we can. You just feel like the money is on the screen.
Absolutely. And we'll see rankings, but I feel like some of the maybe it's recency bias. I have to rewatch Fallout because that's the only one I didn't rewatch, and I really, really like that one. But yeah, all the money's on the screen, and they're doing it for real. Like the fight scenes are great, choreography's great. Like I thought John Wick 4 was god tier, but there's some sequences in this that I'm like, ooh, do we have some rivalry for best
the fact that
recent action movie right now?
Yeah,
as far as
we
technical.
get John Wick 4
Yeah.
and this movie in the same year. I mean, that's a great year for action movies. Just
Absolutely.
And it's a
right
great
there.
year for Rome. Jesus.
I hate it, Doug.
We'll get into
fighting
it.
on
But
top of a train.
yeah, so much good stuff happening. But what do we think the ending here? Well, as we wrap it up and get prepared for final thoughts and everything here.
So
the key
we
has
get the
been
crash.
put together at this point.
Gabriel's
It's all been
got
verified.
it. It falls right to
Gabriel's
his
got
feet.
it, seems like, yes.
As he predicted, yeah. And we fucking lost, Gabriel's got
he
the
jumps
key.
off the train at exactly the moment that he knew he would to end in the bed of a truck.
Truck
He's
that's driving away.
escaping, Right. Oh no, the villain has won the movie as far as we know. This train is
AI's
crashing.
got it.
They have to stop the train. They end up disconnecting the
engine
from the rest of the train to try to stop it from. Basically, the bridge was also blown up right by the entity. It's going to
Gabriel
go over
had
this
timed the bridge to blow up. Yes.
Yeah. So the engine goes off the cliff. The cars are starting to like they stop right at the edge. They're sliding. They're falling right one after the other. So Grace and Ethan have to climb through these cars one by one as they're vertical right in the air. This crazy stuff. A great set piece. Reminiscent of Uncharted 2. I think there's a big, very similar scene in Uncharted.
I don't think they've made a sequel to that movie yet, but interesting.
Nice.
Not the Tom Holland movie, but the video game.
So I've contended for years that like one of the most tense kind of scenes, like with something on a cliff, that kind of this nature, is Jurassic Park 2. That movie gets a lot of shit. But that scene with the camper hanging off the side, the T-Rexes are there, and she's trying not to break the glass and climbing up it. I think that scene is fucking brilliant. And then I thought Uncharted 2 opening is a very dynamic scene in the video game. But I think this is better than both of those things. This is incredibly, like, tense, adrenaline. Like, you can see how they had a train car that they're tipping with the actors in it. That they like. There's so much going on.
Oh yeah.
Like Inception level of motion rigs and stuff. And I thought it was great. The piano. There's always another layer of shit happening, and it gets worse and worse.
The level of detail where they're going through these cars. They're going through the kitchen car, and like things are getting
shit's
lit
on
fire because like gas
lines are flying out.
Yeah, the deep fryer oil spilling everywhere first, and then you seeing the gas line break and knowing the burners are on. Yes, Jacob, there's such a great specificity to the environments that have just been set up.
Ratchet up the tension.
It could have just been they're just going through a bunch of passenger cars, and this is so much more interesting that it's like different cars and like the piano dropping. They have to figure out how to get off that ledge so it doesn't kill them and stuff. And,
Grace, you need to jump.
Trust me.
Again,
trust me. You need to trust me.
Yeah. He's always right,
but
though,
it's a great
just like
scene.
Jack Bauer. It's incredible, yeah.
Yeah. But again, with these movies, it's like every scene that I'm like, that was a great scene, but there's also a scene in Fallout, like the climax of Fallout is, Tom Cruise chasing Henry Cavill in a helicopter and then them crashing the helicopter into him and then them being vertical in the helicopters and stuff. So that's also like an amazing scene. So
what if Grace got two-faced at the end of this, Jake?
Oh
man. Yeah. So I do, by the way, I like how Mission Impossible keeps casting these superhero actors and giving them these like different roles. Like you got Superman, you got Haley Atwell,
Carter.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mantis.
Like
Captain Carter,
like
Mantis.
Yeah, they're giving these superhero actors something to do.
Yeah, interesting parts, not just playing, hey, Cap, it's me, Dave. You remember Dave, don't you? Dave, we're glad you're here.
I mean,
Grace has say that. Oh, shit.
Yeah, Grace has so much more depth here than any of the Marvel appearances for
And I do like
her,
I think Haley Atwell's a good actor. I like her as Peggy Carter, but I never watched the show. Like, I wasn't that level of Marvel where I was watching
I've never seen Agent Carter, but I think she was.
I've never seen Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. either, but
really good.
It's a great show. She is not on that show.
Oh, okay. I liked her in Quantum Mania when she showed up in that cameo. That was fun.
In Quantum Mania?
Multiverse of Madness.
Yes,
oh, right. I was like, she's in the Quantum Zone
Too many
now?
of these movies. No, she shows up as Captain England or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
Captain Carter.
I'm Captain England.
She gets cut in half by her own shield. But
I can do this all day.
Yes.
Dies immediately.
I'd rather you do these movies all day because she's really good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Breakout.
Again,
so
amazing.
So yeah, we see her on the chain. Let's bring this up. So basically, we're finding out all the players. Kittredge is there for some fucking reason. Like he's like someone's operating outside of normal procedures. So like the guys chasing Ethan are like, since you're not here, sir, we're not taking orders from you. A little bit of this, but Palm decides to Paris. She gets stabbed by Gabriel because Gabriel says, "You're going to betray me," right?
Yeah,
so Gabriel.
Here's the thing.
The AI told me.
Gabriel out loud says, as he's slitting Carrie Elways' throat, he says, "And the entity told me you would betray me because Ethan Hunt saved you." And he menacingly turns to Palm, who's like, "Oh shit, you were talking to me?" And she's like, and then he stabs her.
This scene was a little strange. So Gabriel is talking to Carrie Elways, who is the only person who knows not only what the key unlocks, which is this Russian nuclear sub that's like a very powerful weapon.
It's crashed
But-
under the Arctic ice cap
Yeah.
or something.
So
Nobody
he
knows
knows
its
what
location.
it is. He also knows the exact location, and he's made it sure that he's the only living person that
Yes.
knows this information. He's now telling to Gabriel. Of course, Gabriel kills him, but Paris was there listening the whole time. So then he's like, "Yeah, the entity told me that you're gonna betray us," so he tries to kill her too.
And
Mhm.
now Carrie Always Jacob says that with a monologue. He says it in his speech. He says the Stanapole, went down, and what was actually happening in that first scene was they thought they were testing this, but we sent an encrypted thing, and because of that, if anyone found out the digital fingerprints that I was evil and blah blah blah, you're like, okay, wow, this is interesting. This little plot of the movie. Now later, when Paris, aka Palm, is dying, she has, exactly as you've said, overheard all this. Tom Cruise is like, what did he tell you? What was going on? And she just says, Stanapole. Like, she says the name of the submarine, and Tom Cruise is like,
Yeah, he'll put it
Stanapole,
together.
the submarine? You're saying the entity, the AI, lives there, and that the key probably unlocks the housing unit inside? That's like, he
Right.
puts it together. He's connecting the dots so fast that, yes, he might have an algorithm in his head.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he thinks it's a city at first, and she clarifies submarine, but then he's immediately
So
on it.
that's true.
The secret best
Mike-
submarine that's ever been made, though, he
Mike-
gets there quick.
Mike, thank you so much for correcting me. I apologize because she says submarine in French. She says submarine. And he's like, submarine?
Now I got it, yeah. But he's
Um,
quick, because he knows it's the most secret sub ever made.
Well,
he
he
knows
knows
its
everything, of
specs.
course.
Yeah, yeah.
Submarine.
Yeah.
With her and then he says, she's dying or something, her last breath. He gets up, Ethan Hunt walks away, and off screen we hear someone say, we've got a pulse, she's still alive. Like,
Well,
me,
that's
Right.
Ethan,
Yeah.
check her or help her for 2 seconds.
She's
And
not a
this
part
is
of my
the
team
big,
yet. Doesn't count.
Yeah.
Thing is that him and Grace are about to die, and she saves him. So she's turns out to be the hero of the movie by saving.
That's
them
right.
their
They're going to
lives.
fall off. Yeah,
That's right.
They're literally
So
about to
she's-
fall. She grabs them.
Yes.
And,
absolutely.
Yeah, but
Uh,
then she's dying. But they
Palm
say,
is
"Oh,
the
she has a
greatest,
pulse."
is what we learned in this movie.
In the
she's
6
awesome.
lines she
Everyone loves
has,
her now.
she does
Yes.
so
That's
much
going
heavy lifting.
crazy.
I like her. Everybody likes her. How could
Submarine.
you not?
And
It's
she's
like the
French
one
in
thing
real
about
life,
this movie-
so she gets to flex her language.
Well,
or
yes,
is
she's actually she's French Canadian, so she
French-Canadian.
grew up in
Quebecois.
Montreal.
Montreal Lee.
So she's a native French speaker, but also knows English, of course.
yeah, very cool.
And yeah, the internet is raving about her. I think she's one thing that it's talking about from this movie of like, oh, we need more of, her in these movies. And the way that ends with her, there's then specifically saying she's got a pulse, she's not dead. I think she will be.
And the
back in
audience
part two.
reception, yeah, you got to bring her back.
Yeah.
Also, put her in John Wick 5 if you end up making it. Like,
Oh,
She's
God. So
like,
good.
In this movie, I was like, she's like a person that would be coming after John Wick. Like she's like Ruby Rose in the second one, but like way
100%.
they don't let her do enough
100%.
martial arts in Marvel movies. Like, she's very,
No.
very good.
Yeah.
yeah. But she
She's
saves
a great
the day.
physical actress, and
Mhm.
I guess also loves like stunts and Daredevil stuff. So I'm sure like her and Tom Cruise got a lot. because
What's
of that.
the last thing we see Mantis do? She retires to open an obelisk zoo. Those
She's
weird
going to find herself
octopuses?
with her obelisks. She's going
Yeah,
to find who
okay.
she
Chris
is.
Pratt
Because
is like, I need to find myself, and then she's like, I also need to
Okay.
find myself.
I just
And
kind
then
of do
That's
what others
great.
tell me
I'm
to
with
do.
you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if she's
okay.
apparently she's finding herself doing violent acts on behalf of
Yeah.
an AI.
Go to
I do
Earth.
Yeah.
need like a Dave Bautista and Palm Clementif team up movie of some
Oh, an
kind.
action
where
buddy
they're-
comedy.
Yes, that
Yes.
needs
Love
to
that,
happen.
dude.
That would
That's
be
a
very
They're
fun.
playing different characters, maybe going against type, not like Batista doing something other than like a Drax-like character and
Yes.
some kind of unlikely.
Have her be the
partnership.
heavy and him be like the Leonard type from Knock in the
Yeah.
Cabin.
Yeah.
And that would be very fun.
Yes, I love that. I was gonna say a cop and an assassin, but yeah, you flip it. She's the assassin, he's the cop, right?
Yeah. That's perfect. But we shouldn't be pitching movies. We got to finish talking about this one. But I love that
Yeah,
idea.
yeah,
And
yeah.
we're just big fans of what Palm has accomplished with this movie because she should get a lot more.
Pom.
Yeah. So after she saves the day in the whole movie, we find
Well,
out.
we get We get the payoff of what was said. Tom Cruise says, "Alike in AI, I will tell you the future. This mission is going to end with you getting arrested, saying to Kittredge, I am here on sponsorship from Ethan Hunt. I would like to be an IMF agent. I accept the mission."
Yep.
And she does.
Yeah.
She talks Tom Cruise into leaving her, and he takes a wingsuit and leaves. He says out loud, "Thanks, Luther," to remind us that is a character in this film, and we do like Luther.
That's right. We have one wingsuit. We can't both get off of the train to continue the mission, but he does reveal, ho, 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 I had the key.
That's right. The return of close-up magic.
Yes. You were the pickpocket this entire time, but of course it will end with me, the guy who, again, seems better at everything everyone else does, going, I stole the key back.
Okay. So we thought Gabriel had one-upped everyone and made off with the key, but it turns out he doesn't have the key, and he has a very Con moment where Hunt or something.
Oh, I was gonna say, does he just go Ethan?
I think he goes Ethan. Yeah, I think it's a 2-syllable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is very Star Trek, Jacob.
Yeah.
It's great.
But again, I don't know. The Gabriel character, I
sucks.
need more from him. Yeah.
Paris is just so much better, and she can't serve as the Heavy. You wouldn't want her to be
she's had her
avatar of something. No, but I just mean in the context of the film. Like, you're so happy for her to just be the part that she is doing. If she stepped into the larger role, she would also be uninteresting. It's just an uninteresting part.
Yeah, again, I think, not to keep harping on it, but Solomon Lane could have been the Gabriel character, and it would have had better stakes, because the stakes they set up is that Gabriel killed Ethan's first wife or girlfriend at the time, way back in the day. That means nothing to us because it was never seen in a movie. Whereas Solomon Lane, we have 2 movies of him, fucking with Ethan and being
the
his rival.
Moriarty to his Sherlock, literally attacking everything he loves from every angle. Yes.
Yeah. So it just feels like a missed opportunity not to break him out of jail and have him be instead of.
But
this
again,
new
it's
character.
But Jacob, Christopher McQuarrie is not subtle. Like, literally, we keep talking about the religious overtones. Let's say all of it. I want to lay all our cards on the table. Crucifix key, the Gabriel, the messenger of God, the voice of God. He is the voice for the entity.
Is God.
Entity is God. Tom Cruise says, "I will kill your God by the end of this." Right? We're getting all this sort of stuff. It happens in Rome. All this other stuff. That's just not an interesting part. Going into it being like, what's this guy's character? He's the voice of the thing. Cool. That's not interesting.
No.
To make him interesting, for you to have to go, I'm going to pull out the bad writer card and make him tied to unforeseen backstory sucks. It's
something that happened before the first Mission Impossible. We don't care because we didn't see it. Like, it means nothing to us. At least somehow tie him into like that first mission where he was working with John Voight the whole time or something.
I was the one who paid John Voight because I was blah blah blah.
I'm the one that killed Kristen Scott Thomas. I guess that was Jean Reno.
Or you take Jacob's other idea and you just say, what would the AI do? It would be like, okay, Ethan Hunt's my greatest threat. I'm going to use my AI skills to release Lane and subtly maneuver him to do what I want. He won't even know that I'm an AI. I'll send encrypted messages pretending I'm some handler, and then we'll position Lane in opposition to Hunt.
But here's what I was thinking the whole time. I know this sucks, and the answer is storytelling. Why doesn't this thing just drop a nuke on this city and go like, well, that destroys the key and Ethan Hunt? Who cares?
I think it needs to be released from the submarine to have full capability. I don't know, though, for sure. It could be a MacGuffin.
There's a lot of... Yeah, I would need to see it again to get.
I don't know what its capabilities
its plan
are, because it can change something on Luther's computer and in Ethan's glasses, but it cannot nuclear launch
It's connected to every satellite in the world, and then the first thing Carrie always says it does is it broke into every security system on the planet and left a calling card to say that it could do that.
Oh, that's right. I'll be back. It didn't touch anything. And again, I mentioned I wanted to bring this up. There's a part where Benji, as we said, he says, I gotta help you, Ethan. I'm busy. And he sets auto drive, and he gets into the passenger seat of the car. And the whole time, I think we said it off time, but it's
strange.
It's
the
like
car is going to get hijacked.
You're like, well, of course, it can hack anything.
The AI is going to drive him.
This is fascinating.
Especially now that they don't have the key, it'll take Benji to Gabriel, and we have a trade again. Classic Mission Impossible trade.
And it writes itself of truly him being like, Ethan, you got to keep driving on your thing, but you can't believe what's happening on my thing. But really, once he's on the train, you never see Benji again. Like it's pretty much
until the
just
very
over.
end when he get in the car, Ethan. Yeah, that's
he
it.
just drives out.
They just wanted to show that he was practicing safe driving by getting in the passenger seat, so he's not using his laptop while he's driving.
Yeah, while text.
Moving while it's in the moving vehicle. Well, maybe that'll pay off in the second movie, but broadly, Dead Reckoning.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
That's Dead Reckoning, part 1.
Yep.
Now, I think, the religious overtones, I like them in this compared to like Fast and the Furious, where it's very Catholic, but because Dom Toretto is very Catholic, so he sees things through a religious worldview of faith and that kind of thing. So you got to have faith. So he's very religious, and that's what the movie's about. Whereas this movie is, like you said, Ethan Hunt wants to kill God. And they say, like, you're the only, like, everyone else wants to have this power for themselves. The Americans, every other country. Ethan is the only one who wants to kill it because he's just like, this is too much power for anyone to have. We just need to destroy it. So I like that, like,
throw it into the
protagonist of the movie is like, I will kill God. And that's what this movie is.
That's wild.
Yeah. I like
Dark
that.
Souls.
Dark Souls.
Yeah, I mean, it could also, very metal indeed. And I think, again, hopefully we get more of the entity interfering with things. I thought it as an antagonist was most effective in the airport when it was like fucking with, and then it doesn't do anything for really the rest except for Benji's comm. That's kind of the only two things the entity does to interfere. And I think it could have done a lot more.
But at the end of the day, Gabriel is just the manifestation of the entity. So I guess if he's not a super strong character, it's okay because he's just there to be the personification of the entity.
But the entity can be sending text to White Widow from the brother. Like, he'd be doing a lot more disruptive shit to everybody.
Yeah.
You know?
You could truly, I liked what you said earlier, Mike, this sort of payoff of it could turn out that he didn't even know he was being manipulated by this thing. It could be the third beat payoff of, how did you know? Well, I received texts about it. Wait, electronic communication. If Isai Morales at the end was like, I'm doing all this because that woman I killed years ago has been, commenting to me, messaging me, calling me to do this to you, Ethan. It's, like, this is my penance or something. Like, if he was coming it from a different way, that would make it 5,000 times more interesting. Other than what I guess they're going to reveal in the next movie is that he's like, and of course, my backstory is, as a young man, nobody realized how good I was except for a talking computer. And you'll be like,
I always did good in computer class. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I guess. Cool. Great.
I don't know. My general thoughts.
And I think we're into final thoughts now. Yeah,
we're winding down here. We're giving our final thoughts. We've been talking Mission Impossible this entire time. We're wrapping up Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, Part 1. Not the end of this franchise. It will be, but let's give our thoughts on this final entry.
I guess I'll go first. I think I was most favorable just generally. I think it's a big old spectacle, right? Like, I do like the set pieces. I like that everything's done practically. I think the story stuff we've been talking about is a little bit weaker. I think in comparison to a lot of movies I've watched recently, there's still more minor complaints than like Fast 10 or Indiana Jones, maybe, as far as script complaints. But it's not perfect. I think the train scene is like one of my favorite sequences in the series, but I don't think this is my favorite movie. I still think, and I need to rewatch Fallout, which I will probably after this, because it's the only one I haven't rewatched.
I want to hear
but I remember
your ranking.
Yeah, well, right now it would probably be Fallout.
Still number 1.
Yeah, Fallout's number 1. Probably Rogue Nation, this, Ghost Protocol, 1, 3, 2.
Okay.
Love it.
Yeah.
Not a bad ranking.
So what is that? 6, 5, 7, 4, 3, 1, 2. Yeah.
Yeah, I think most people kind of have, like, the last 4 from Ghost Protocol on. Everyone kind of sees as like really good movies, like really strong, and then most people have the last 2 being 3 and 2 in that order generally.
3
So
is
it's just a
actually
matter of
pretty
where you
good,
put.
I think.
Yeah, 3
For
is
Philip
totally
Seymour
fine,
Hoffman.
I thought.
Like
Yes.
it's the
He's
most
great as a
personal
villain.
movie. Yeah, but anyway.
When he's like, "What's your wife's name?" Like, I'm gonna, make you suffer. I'm gonna make her suffer. I'm gonna kill her in front of you. Like,
I'm gonna
he's
kill
so
your wife.
villainous.
Even when
Yeah.
he's
She's
like-
gonna die. I'm gonna kill her.
You shouldn't have
She's
said that,
dead.
Ethan. Like he already knows his name. It's like, damn.
Like, he's
okay.
literally like a horror movie villain.
Yeah.
So
But
yeah,
anyway.
strong performance from him. But for me, I don't want to sound like I'm negative because I did like this movie. So I am very positive about it, especially compared to some of the other big summer blockbusters that we've gotten this year. But compared to the other Mission Impossible movies, again, it's just a really strong franchise. And so, yeah, I would put it, my ranking as of right now, I still put Ghost Protocol number 1 just because of what it did when it came out. Like, it totally, like I said, rejuvenated the franchise and kind of took it in a new direction. So I would say Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, which on this rewatch actually went up a lot in my esteem in past Fallout, because when I saw Fallout, I was like, at the time I thought it was better than Rogue Nation. Now I think it's a little bit worse, but still really good. Like those top 3 are so close in terms of quality. I just think they're all really great. So it's Ghost Protocol.
I just love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll just say the drowning sequence with the truck in Fallout is still one of my favorite things.
That's great. That whole Paris scene where Ethan's got to like figure out how to not alert the White Widow that he's not John Lark, and also like rescue Solomon Lane, but also not get a bunch of innocent people killed. Like, that's a great scene.
Yeah.
And of course the skydiving, the helicopters
halo
at
jump.
the end, the halo jump. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Henry Cavill, like another great villain turn, I think, in that movie as well. Classic, cock in his arms. Great fight scene again. That bathroom fight scene, one of the greatest action fight scenes ever in an action movie, I think.
100%.
On the par with anything in John Wick. So yeah, so my ranking: Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, Fallout, Mission Impossible 1, Dead Reckoning Part 1. So it's 5th. But those 5 are all so good. Like, I love all those movies. And
Yeah.
3 too.
It's a tight race for the top 5, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Colin, where are
is.
you at?
I mirror Jacob exactly. I mean, it's the issue is we are talking about a film franchise where when I'm putting my top 10 of the year together for Letterboxd, a lot of the entries for those years include Mission Impossible films in those top 10. So it's certainly not like any of these films are bad in my opinion, but specifically these Macquarie Run ones. And you pointed out, that Ghost Protocol, despite the fact that he's not a director on it, he did Ghostwrite, he did a draft cleanup. And my series favorite line, I think truly one of the best lines ever written, is "Blue glue, red dead," when Benji is just explaining the gloves. I mean, that is a Christopher McQuarrie masterpiece line. That is his talents personified, what he's bringing to this franchise. Simplicity, excitement, explanation that anybody can understand, that sets up awesome, incredible stakes. I've been a super fan of him taking over this franchise, it turns out. I like Jack Reacher, very strangely, so I love this
gotta
marriage.
watch it now.
To say a little bit about Christopher McQuarrie, he's a really interesting character because he obviously he wrote The Usual Suspects, nominated for Academy Award, all that. Went on to write the movie Valkyrie, directed by BS, starring
we don't
Tom
say his name.
Cruise.
But
That's
hey,
right.
who can speak German? What's an actor that speaks a lot of languages and has many life skills that he wants to flex?
Who can kill
Right.
Hitler? Only
So I feel
Tom.
like this is where he must have met Tom Cruise. But then ever since Valkyrie, he's been doing so many Tom Cruise projects that he's like Tom Cruise's guy.
But just to expand on that further, and other than Joseph Kaczynski, this weird other guy who it's like, we'll do Oblivion and Top Gun Maverick
Gun
together.
Maverick,
And you're
right.
like, okay, Tom, you've got
But
your
that's
two
how
people.
Tom Cruise
Yes.
works, where he finds directors that he likes. That's
Yes.
how he's like, I want John Woo for the second one.
Yes.
He's like, J.J. Abrams, I really love this show Lost. Let's get J.J. Abrams
But-
for the third one.
But,
Yeah.
okay, two things I want to say to what you're saying now.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise was a guy, a young man, the number one star in Hollywood, who was like, I want to work for our tours. He does The Color of Money. He works for Martin Scorsese. He does Born
Eyes
on the
Wide
4th
Shut.
of July. Jacob, he
Kubrick.
works with fucking Stanley Kubrick. He is one of the only people who has ever worked with auteurs, the
Yeah.
greatest auteurs. He becomes Spielberg's guy for 2 movies. My favorite Spielberg movie, we're solving some time crimes here.
Oh yeah,
The
Cyber.
fucking greatest of all time. But
and War of the Worlds.
he has now, in this weird self-preservation of style, glommed onto someone who you really could not say these people are auteurs, the 2 people you just mentioned. And the flip side, the other thing I wanted to say is to explain that person is not an auteur, to dive into Christopher McQuarrie just a little bit more. Because you said, oh, he's nominated for an Academy Award, he writes this movie, blah, blah, blah. Hold on, listeners. The Usual Suspects. What The Usual Suspects, let alone did for crime films in a very Pulp Fiction way, where Tarantino revitalizing, changing the voice that movies are made with. Not the content of films, but literally the dialogue of how those people talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
He is nominated for an Academy Award for his first film ever. And the chip on his shoulder that he will feel for the rest of his career of basically, this is it. I'm one of the greatest writers ever. And then to make Son of a Gun, which is his first directorial debut, that puts him in director's jail until he links up with Tom Cruise.
Yeah, he's doing a lot
Christopher
of writing
McQuarrie,
projects.
but a lot of rewriting. He's doing a lot of like stuff where he's like, why am I not the guy? I wanted to be the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but this is what I think is interesting. So he kind of attaches himself to Tom Cruise. And like, I'm your guy. You need a rewrite on a project. I'll come on. I'll do it. I won't even be credited. If you look at his like filmography, like Edge of Tomorrow, he co-wrote that with the Butterworth brothers. Remember them?
Butterworth brothers. I'm so happy you taught us about them.
Mm-hmm. All these and I don't. You're right. He's not an auteur, but I think he's a really good genre filmmaker. Like he knows how to make action.
He's a good
movies.
collaborative partner. That's what filmmakers used to have, collaborative partners.
But so Ghost Protocol. So obviously he did Jack Reacher, sort of an audition for Mission Impossible. But so on Ghost Protocol, Brad Bird did a really good job directing, I think. But they had some problems with the script. While they were shooting, they're like, Tom Cruise is like, let me get my guy McQuarrie to do an unofficial, uncredited rewrite while they're shooting.
Because otherwise, Jacob, is Ghost Protocol fucking Kurtzman and Orchie again? Is it our fucking hated rivals on this podcast?
Sure. I forget.
I think it might be returning off a 3. I think it might be.
But so what's interesting though, he came on Ghost Protocol. Remember Jeremy Renner? Mm-hmm. They were trying to make Jeremy Renner the new star of Mission Impossible. And so McQuarrie came on and said, I think your problem is you're trying to write Tom Cruise out of the Mission Impossible movie. It was going to be a passing of the torch thing to Jeremy Renner's character, which is very funny because the Bourne series also did that with Jeremy Renner.
An incredible point to make. Bourne Legacy.
Neither of them worked out.
But I think casual viewers, listeners, whatever, will forget this time period, Jacob. Mike made the joke about jumping on the couch earlier. All that stuff that made him no longer be in Spielberg movies, where Spielberg was like, you're causing too much negative attention. I don't want this. We're done. Mm-hmm. There was a time around this period where it's like, fuck, Mission Impossible 2 didn't work. Fuck, 3 worked, but it didn't make its money back. Okay, I'm going to retire. I'm Tom Cruise. I'm going to be done making movies. Do you guys remember he became a studio head? He became the studio head of Blue Sky. I can't remember. One of these pseudo side, huge studios or whatever.
Yeah.
Where he's doing meetings as the studio head with like the Red Dawn remake people, where they're figuring out to recut it to make it North Koreans instead of Chinese or the enemy, right?
Right.
Tom Cruise is putting his opinion into other people's movies. And like you said, it's like, and then of course, I'll wrap up the films that I star in by handing them off to other people. This is a noble thing I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And it's like the idea now that this man would ever stop is foreign. It is so alien to us.
Absolutely.
Even in Top Gun, what's so funny is that you think it's going to be a passing of the torch to Miles Teller, but then No, it's just Tom Cruise at the end being the hero and having to save the day.
You know
like,
what? I'm not
Miles
gonna
Teller.
die. I'm actually the greatest.
It's actually
Yeah.
the
Oh,
wow.
60-year-old man that has to pilot the thing.
Turns out
But
I'm the best.
But that's what's so interesting about Ghost Protocol is that, like, yeah, the Jeremy Renner was going to be the new guy, and then it just ended up being like, oh, actually, we're gonna keep going with Tom Cruise, and that's when McQuarrie came on. And was like, I think Tom Cruise is the star. I think he should be the star.
Why are you trying to play my boy Tom like that? And in
Right.
the ultimate act of loyalty, he was like, "Oh, McQuarrie, you defended me. You will have work for the rest of your life."
Damn, right?
Yeah,
Because
So truly, I
nobody's
think
life
that
on
rewrite-
my team, matters more.
Yes. Yes.
Right.
it
yes.
is that. And if you look at like these Mission Impossible movies, like Tom Cruise will just bring in like his friends, like I said, like like actors in small parts that he's worked with in other movies. It's like, let's bring this person in, and like that's what I do appreciate about Tom Cruise. And I know there's been definitely a PR shift in the way that he's handled his public
Yes.
image, where he's like,
Yes.
all right, I'm going to be way more low key, kind of off the radar, and I'm just going to become Mr. Movies. And that's a very,
Yes.
I think,
Yeah.
a very calculated PR move. So I'm not blind to that fact, but I do just, there are things I appreciate about him, even if there's things that are not great about
I
him.
haven't seen
Right,
my
right.
daughter Surrey in it's noted 10 years. Like it is verifiably confirmed. I have not seen my daughter in that long. Doesn't matter. Mr. Movies doesn't have kids. And you're like,
Right.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mr.
My
Movies
kids
just
are
wants you to go to the theater. Yeah. It's
I
me,
am
Mr.
an
Movie.
entity.
He'll be
No,
the
I think
first
you're a
one
man.
to yeah. Sheesh. One thing I'll say about this, as I was watching this latest one, is I kept thinking to myself, this is a movie. Like
Yes.
it's the kind of thing that every middle range action movie wants to be. Like it does all the same
Yes.
stuff of like wide shot of the city with a title card, and like it's doing all these things that are tropes for movies, but somehow it's just doing them better. Like it uses its
Yes.
locations better. Like it uses
Right.
Rome's architecture better. The way they pull up to the club in a gondola in Venice, I'm like, that's
Oh my-
fucking sick. Like
Mike,
they
Mike,
use the
Mike.
environment to maximum effect. Let's have 10,000 candles and he'll sprint past them. Like that stuff,
so
just
good.
the attention to
Yeah.
detail elevates every sequence,
And-
even if the dialogue and plotting's a little iffy.
Right. And again, to compare it to like its closest competitor, the James Bond movies, specifically like the last couple with Daniel Craig. Skyfall was really good, but then you had Spectre, you had No Time to Die, where it's
Quantum
doing
of
this sort of
Solace.
Quantum of Solace, yeah. And it does
Ooh.
this sort of globe-trotting adventure thing. Like a lot of the James Bond movies are that in the same way that this Mission Impossible movie is, but it's just, it's not doing it as well. Like Mission Impossible is kicking James Bond's ass right now in terms
Yes.
of quality.
Yeah. And then my other point is like I was writing in my initial notes, like, yeah, he's like our James Bond, but I also think he's kind of stealing a little bit of Indiana Jones. Like this is the
Yeah.
modern Indiana Jones, because there'll be some comedic beats here once they kind of got comedy worked in some of the later movies. Where like
Yeah.
he'll be doing a crazy stunt, and then something even worse will happen, and he'll just give the look of like, oh geez, like you kidding me? And like it has this
Yeah.
Harrison kind of quality of like,
Again,
here
I
we go
think
again. Yeah.
it all goes back to Ghost Protocol, where they really solidified Tom Cruise's comedic abilities with his action. Again, that Burj
Yes.
Khalifa, like, no shit, like the way he says that, like,
No shit.
he's so like frustrated
Yeah.
with the situation, but he always does that like nod or like whatever, like to, where he's in some situation, he's
This
acknowledging that he's in a
exasperation, like-
situation. Yeah.
Because there's always the
Shit.
person who says, "You're telling me we have to," and once that speech is done, he goes, "Mm-hmm."
Yeah, and I really
then-
think they perfected those beats with Ghost Protocol, because like 3,
Yes.
you had him, Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall.
The worst.
Weirdest line
The
Yeah.
in
strangest.
all of the series.
Man, yeah, what? Very weird.
Stranger
But,
than a guy explaining what chimera is. Yes, I
Yeah.
agree with you.
Oh God, I just watched that today.
It's very good.
I
Mike.
do, yeah. And then the other thing I wanted to say is there's one more trope that is needed for Mission Impossible generally, and it's a very luckily timed car. Like generally you're upside down and someone's walking towards you with a gun or something, and then your buddy Ving Rhames pulls up and hits him with a car. Something like that has
Yes.
to happen with fortuitous timing.
Someone
Like
will
him
say
coming onto
"get
the
in"
train.
right after it. Yes,
Exactly,
yes, absolutely.
exactly. And then the other note that I did put, this is just a callback to one of our earlier things, but in my notes I just put, Ethan Hunt is so fucking straight. and it's just like he's just like this masculine dude, and like
Yeah.
But
He
that's not a
is.
criticism. It's
He
just funny.
is.
Like, man, you're straight as an arrow.
But
buddy.
he's straight like a Ken doll is, Mike, and that
Yeah,
truly I
yeah.
believe nothing is down there.
Yeah,
Right.
His
Just a
ability
gadget.
to have like sexual chemistry with female co-stars is like very rare at best that he can do it. Like even in 2, when like the whole thing is like built on like him and Thandie Newton being like this sexy relationship, like it's just
Yeah.
weird. Seeing him with a human female is just weird to me. And of course, he's had in his personal life, with Nicole Kidman and Katie
Normal
Holmes and stuff.
marriages, normal relationships. What are you pointing out
Katie
here?
Holmes having to like escape his home and like so.
Holmes.
Nicole Kidman documented once again after getting divorced by him, doing the walk of happiness, the opposite.
There was a
of
freeze
shame. She
frame in the
looks-
universe,
right.
I
Yes.
think.
She truly
credit
looks
came
like
up.
she is dancing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
But the
it's hard to
character,
get
I think,
that-
interacting with like Ilya and stuff like that, I think that stuff's fun.
Yeah.
I do like
Yeah.
Ethan Hunt's
Well,
character work.
that's what's
Just
so
not in
amazing
a
about
romantic
Ilsa
way.
Faust
Yes.
in
As
like,
professionals.
Rogue Nation and Fallout, Ilsa Faust, like the fact that Rebecca Ferguson can manage to have some kind of chemistry with Tom Cruise just speaks to her ability as an actress. I think.
Mhm.
It's
She
like,
might be the secret
this
ingredient for
alien
those movies.
60-year-old man is
You know what?
someone that
I could
love.
kiss that. And you're like, wow, really? Okay.
Well, let me
you're
check my
right. Sign up for
contract.
5 more of these. Here's the thing.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna rank these because I have not
Go.
done that yet, and then I'm gonna open up to y'all for final thoughts. But I just want to squeeze my last one in here and just respond to what Mike said about this feels like a movie.
Mm-hmm.
My take on these films are: if you offer your opinion up to these movies to me, and you say, "Oh, when I watched it at home, and then I discover you did not see these films originally in theaters, and you're trying to tell me what you think about them," your opinion does not count. These are movies meant to be seen in a theater. It's the only way to experience it, as large as possible. This was shot a ton in IMAX. We did not get the
Right.
experience to do that. I don't know if you did, Mike, but I
No.
would love to see this film in IMAX.
Yeah.
This
Well,
one.
again, Fallout
These are movies.
in theaters
It's a
was
big movie.
incredible. We
Yeah.
all saw Fallout in theaters, right?
100%.
So
Yeah, they're worth it. I agree with you, Colin.
I believe since Ghost Protocol, I have seen all of these in theaters. I definitely saw 2 in theaters after renting 1. Did not go see 3 in theaters because of 2, and then did see Ghost Protocol in theaters because of the buzz. And then
Okay.
since then, for sure.
Yeah. 2, I could tell some stories about that too, where he was under so much pressure to make it a success. Like Thandie Newton has some stories about working with Tom Cruise
Yeah.
as well, where he's just like,
Yeah.
yeah.
And Jacob, have you heard in your research, did you see the story of him playing the Kanye West song for an executive and being like, is it 2 where it's or is it 3 where it's the Kanye song? There's like a remix for the Mission
remember.
Impossible theme that Kanye does, but he's like,
Oh.
hear this? This is the future. And then the journalist says, and then Tom Cruise stood up and started to dance in a way that I believe no human has ever danced before.
And then
it's
he
like,
got the
yep,
part in
I
Tropic
believe
Thunder.
that.
Yeah, well, I was
dancing
thinking
weirdly.
about
So-
Tropic Thunder. Like
Yes,
he's somewhat
yes.
in on the joke by being
Is
in that
he?
movie, right?
He-
He's in on the
Acknowledging-
joke because he's playing an executive he dislikes.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess he is. All right, I'm reading my list here. Hold on, I'm
Yes.
pulling it up.
Yeah.
It's loading. Strikingly similar to Jacob. Here's the flip. I've got Fallout at number 1. Ghost Protocol right there.
Nice.
Then Rogue Nation, number 1. Then this film, part 1. So again, number 5.
Yeah.
Then 3. Then 2,
Then 2.
being the lowest, of course.
That's the way to
So-
go.
I would
But again,
say
I
they-
would. Yeah. So go ahead.
this
Well-
franchise, it has more value artistically and just entertainment
Yes.
value wise than a Transformers entire franchise, than a Fast and
Oh.
the Furious entire franchise, bar none. you know?
Yeah. I
The
was trying to
artistry
think
that
of,
has me putting Fallout first, sorry to interrupt you, but just to
Mhm.
defend it for a second.
No, you've
is
been trying.
That's the only surreal action movie I've ever seen. It has multiple dream sequences and opens up with him having a nightmare of a nuke going off at his wedding that is
Yeah.
like horrifying and interesting, and I
Terminator
really
2
love
moment.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He gets D-Dayed or yeah, he gets straight up D-Dayed.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I was trying to think like is Mission Impossible a more consistently good franchise, or is like John Wick? Again, John Wick only has 4 movies versus 7. But I think if you take out 2 and 3, like every
John
Mission
Wick,
Impossible movie is as good as the John Wick movies.
Isn't one when I'm watching John Wick where I'm like, this truly is bad. Even though 2 is interesting, it is truly bad.
I think 2, the ending of 2 is awesome, but the lead up, like the first hour.
The big twist I really liked for 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I think I broke his jaw. That stuff was cool. But I would say it's a question of amplitude and frequency. So I think the amplitude of action and set pieces in Mission Impossible is much higher than the amplitude in John Wick. You know, but the frequency of the general actions that are happening. John Wick does so many more actions per minute in his action sequences versus a couple big moments. And I don't know how you balance that equation, but I think the conversation being had, it just shows how strong both of these franchises are.
If they
John or Ethan. Well, here's the support question I want to say. Do you think it would be possible to mix the cocktail? With Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise, you go, I know which one of those guys is in charge of the stunts. But with Chad Stileski and Keanu, you're like, there's a symbiosis there. But I feel like Chad could work with Tom. Christopher McQuarrie could not work with Keanu. You know what I mean? Like the jumbling, I don't think it would be possible.
No, and it's Chad. It's his in-house stunt team too. Like this whole thing is being built around like the team, and they have a like intimate familiarity with how they work and body movements and stuff. So it's interesting to think about that environment. And I don't know what Tom's stunt environment is. It seems like he's doing 500 skydives to get ready to do it for a movie. So fascinating. But I think the point is they do things for real, and I think that's what people are missing out on, and that's what takes people out of other action movies. Like too much CG ruins it. The reason we like John Wick and Mission Impossible is because they're doing things in camera. Do that, okay? Like please, Hollywood. Like people are paying to see it.
One more quick story, because I know we've gone long.
We're not longer than the movie yet, so we're okay.
This 4-hour podcast will self-destruct in 5, 4.
Yeah. But one quick more story about the making of Ghost Protocol and how insane Tom Cruise is. I was watching a video of Matt Damon telling a story that Tom Cruise told him, where they were talking. He's like, how did you do that? Like how did you think of that Burj Khalifa scene? And Tom Cruise is like, let me tell you, I've been thinking this scene for 15 years.
What are you talking about?
When we were doing it, like I asked my stunt guy, like this, like I laid it all out for the stunt guy, for the safety guy. I was like, this is what I want to do. And the safety guy's like, no way, too dangerous, you can't do it. So I got a new safety guy.
Oh, geez. That's incredible.
That's Tom Cruise's whole mentality, right?
Tell me now and I will fire you. Yes, that probably is right.
I had this idea, and I petitioned the government of Dubai, and I said, you need to build the tallest tower, because in about 15 years, I'm going to climb it, all right? I got them to do the project.
We're wearing our fucking masks. I'm on phones with producers every night. I'm remembering the content of it now. It is great. It's an all-timer.
Well, yeah, he's yelling at crew members who weren't practicing.
It's like the kind of shit I wanted to yell at Ralph's, you know?
Yeah.
Back up.
He's on the right side on that.
Like, are you kidding me? Let's just try. Yeah.
100%,
incredible.
Mike.
Trust me. Just trust me, you know?
Just trust me. You have to let me check out before you. I will be quicker.
Yeah. I think less than 10 items.
The lesson at the end of the day is like, he may be a maniac, but as long as he's putting his maniac powers to use for the good of cinema, then I think that's the best way that he could possibly be devoting his energy.
It is like if you found out the Joker was good at like running a post office, and you were like, we just have to let him do it, and you're like, okay, well, as long as he's occupied, yes, I 100% agree.
Give him something else to do with his time. Just send him to skydiving school. He'll be fine. He's gonna do that for 6 months. He's gonna hold his breath for a long time. He's gonna focus on that for a year. Okay, just put him in the corner.
But here's the thing. He's from Kentucky, right? He's from my neck of the woods, our neck of the woods. If he had stayed there and become like a real estate agent or something, he would become Patrick Bateman, because Christian Bale did base that performance
right,
on
yeah.
an interview with Tom Cruise where he was like, you can see in his eyes that he's not a
There's
person.
nothing behind the eyes. Yeah, he's smiling, but
So
there's
it's
nothing
like,
behind
you
the eyes.
know that he'd be like, hi, Tom Cruise, I'd love to sell you a house. And then they would find in his basement a bunch of severed heads.
Sure.
Yeah.
Look, if he can't devote his energy to movies, then he's gonna become a serial killer. You're right.
Yes,
The only two
100%.
options.
Yes.
You heard it here first.
We're lucky. We're lucky we got what we got.
So pay for this movie. Go see it. Keep him in front of the cameras as long as
Yeah.
you
Keep
can
him off the
for your own
street.
safety.
Yes.
That's
Uh,
right.
Yeah, I think we like these. I think we like
Yes.
these movies. I didn't realize how much I liked them. And seeing this movie and Jacob's recommendation, going back and rewatching the ones that were in my blind spot, damn.
Yes.
What a franchise. What a franchise.
I'm glad I won you over onto watching those because, listen, Normies, I really recommend the full rewatch before seeing this movie because you get so much context too. And especially, I mean, you could also just watch one and then skip to Ghost Protocol and watch them from there. That's another way you could do it. But, 2 and 3, worth watching, I think.
Even
There's
1,
stuff
3.
in all of 'em.
I mean, if you're going to do that, just watch 2.
Yeah.
But I think 3 is pretty neat in
Yeah.
its own way. But less action. The action is the worst in 3, I think, though. There's like the bridge. There's not many big set pieces in 3. But there's a lot of
No.
there's the only character work. But anyway, we're not this. We'll do that.
What
when we
did
do the
you
whole
What did you
movies.
think of the bomb in the brain, Mike?
Scary.
It's when it happened,
Scary
it was
Russell.
scary.
It's
Yeah.
so scary.
Zori Bliss
Yes.
did not make it.
The way her eyes get, like,
Yeah, that was.
Babu Frick jumps
Yeah.
on Ethan Hunt's shoulder crying.
Hey.
No, bad to
Zori, you didn't make it.
Bad brain bomb.
Sorry.
We
Bad
need to
brain
get out
bomb.
of here. Okay.
All right, we gotta go. Look, we've
Yeah,
been your
we're-
hosts. This is Normies Like Us. You can find us at Normies_like_us on all social media. Rate, review, subscribe. Leave us missions. Don't do that. It will scare us. But leave us, messages, comments, like, subscribe. Don't say this is the entity. We rate it 5 stars. Again, that will make me mad. Don't say it is written.
Don't write a script for ChatGPT to spam
Yeah.
5-star reviews
Right.
either.
Oh, maybe do that. I wouldn't mind.
Maybe
if you
that's
did
what the
that.
entity wants.
If you
us to
choose to accept
Yes.
it. Yeah.
Yes, the entity wants you to subscribe to this podcast, so do that.
That's right.
It says you have to, actually, in order to get the key and go to the Orient Express.
Yeah.
But we have been your hosts. This is Colin Luther. I can't remember what I said before. Colin Luther.
Well, this was never me. This is the entity. You've been bamboozled into
Oh my
listening to this
God.
whole thing.
It wasn't my fault. You just static out on the video feed. That would really scare me.
That would
never
be.
here
I
the
should have
whole
set that
time.
up.
Hello,
Oh, yeah.
Jacob.
This
You
is-
are dumb. Colin, you are dumb too. Mike, what are you, huh?
This whole thing
Uh,
has been a big deep fake.
That's right. And this is your worst nightmare. As Alec Baldwin says in, I believe, Rogue Nation, the manifestation of destiny itself, or something to that effect. Jacob Hunt.
The dial of destiny, Jacob Hunt.
That's
we'll-
right.
Don't touch that dial. We'll catch you next time, Normies. Bye.
Bye. Mission accomplished.
Dun, 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 dun. Last question before I hit stop, if this would be the end credits of this episode. Is Mission Impossible theme better than the James Bond theme? Colin.
Ooh,
Yes.
good question.
Jacob.
Both really good, but I think, Mission Impossible gets the slight
Agreed.
edge.
It's unanimous. Mission Impossible theme better than James Bond.
Ah.
Court is
Agreed.
adjourned. Bye.